everybody, and welcome to the Friday Night Huddle. I'm Dave Bacon. It is state semifinal weekend. Teams just one win away from heading to the state championship game and potentially fulfilling their dreams of becoming a state champion. As always, joined by my Friday Night Huddle teammates, Dan Lobby from cleveland.com, Dave Skozin, and Dave Bacon. Guys, we look at it. Let's start with Division I. We'll get right into it. St. Ignatius, team that has been outstanding, had to go to overtime in the regional final to get here. They get Olentangy Liberty, team that's unbeaten on the year. And there you see, we're going to start with the St. Ignatius Olentangy Liberty thing in this side of the semifinal. And the other side has Pickerington Central and St. Xavier. But what jumps out to you, Dan Lobby, about this St. Ignatius Olentangy Liberty game?
Well, for St. Ignatius, probably breathing a sigh of relief that they advanced after last week, as St. Edward really gave them all they could handle and took them to overtime. You know, had a nice drive at the end of the game, maybe with a chance to win. So for St. Ignatius, you know, they kind of passed that test. You always have to get past somebody that maybe, get a game that maybe you shouldn't have won to get to a state championship. And Ignatius beat their rival last week and were able to do that. But now they've got to deal with Liberty and Brendan White.
And they do, but here's the but, if you're Liberty, they played from behind last week and they were able to overcome that deficit, come back and beat Lorraine. You can't do that and rely on being able to do that when you're playing St. Ignatius. We saw it happen with Solon. We've seen, even during the regular season, how far behind St. Ed's fell at the game at First Energy Stadium. So I think that's the big concern if you're Liberty tonight, is you've got to stay in that game. You can't count on the idea that you're going to be able to come from behind.
Well, the other thing that Liberty faces is they don't have arguably their best defensive player. Warner is out, and that's the son of the offensive coordinator, Ed Warner, for the Buckeyes, Ohio State. Injured, not going to play. He's a middle linebacker. He's a very good defensive player. And you don't want to face St. Ignatius without your best defensive player. The way that team runs the football and can match up if you decide to cheat and bring extra people in the box, Pat Ryan can throw the football. So that's another challenge, but Liberty hasn't lost a game all year. So, you know, there's a reason they were ranked high all year long. You know, you mentioned Brendan White. He missed some games. Now Warner's out. It's a team that's done whatever it's needed to do to win. Challenge very big, though, tonight.
Yeah, St. Ignatius just always poses problems. That big offensive line, you mentioned Pat Ryan. Obviously, Ignatius would love to run the ball. They've kind of been riding Mark Babinski for a while with Jimmy Andrews out with an injury, and he's done a great job. And they want to ride that offensive line. But if they need to, Ryan can throw the football a little bit. He's a dual-threat quarterback, too, so he can beat you with the run. He can beat you with the pass. St. Ignatius just has talent all over the place. Been through the battles already. It's going to be a really stiff test for Olentangy Liberty.
And I think a lot of the time when you talk about having been through the battles, you think about, oh, well, they got past St. Ed's last week and it was overtime, and now do they relax too much? Is there a letdown? But I think with Chuck Kyle, he's going to have his team ready to go. And the most interesting stat I think that any of us saw this week, or at least from what I feel is one of the most interesting, is the last time St. Ignatius did not make the playoffs prior to last year was 2010. They came back and won the state championship the next year. So last year they didn't make the playoffs. Now they're 2 wins away from winning the state championship again. And you know that, I mean, if you're Chuck Kyle, you don't have the success that you've had over time and not be some sort of a master psychologist. So there, I would say with most teams there is that danger of, like you said, they can look and say, oh, it's Liberty, we can relax. But it doesn't seem like Coach Kyle's going to let that happen.
Well, and you know, you mentioned riding Babinski. The guys they're riding are Darian Kennard, left tackle. Yeah. He's 6'6", 315. John Jameson, or Jack Jameson as he goes by, 6'2", 260. Their center is 6'1", 285. That's John Spellacy. He's headed to East Carolina. Tyler First, their right guard, 6'1", 285. And their right tackle goes 6'4", 310. That's Brian Almady. That's a big offensive line, and those guys can move some people around. As usual, we have cleveland.com reporters at all of the sites. Matt Gould is the one that will be covering the St. Ignatius Olentangy Liberty, and Matt Gould joins us with this preview. Take it away, Matt.
This is Matt Gould for cleveland.com and Friday Night Huddle checking in from Arlen Field here in Mansfield, where the St. Ignatius Wildcats with a 12-1 record are taking on the unbeaten Olentangy Liberty Patriots for a trip to Columbus here in the Division I state semifinals. Now, of course, last week both teams came off of come-from-behind wins in the second half. Of course, Ignatius, as we all know, was up against St. Edward, needed overtime to hold off the Eagles 38-31. It was only their second game this season. They've been kept within a touchdown. Their other one was an overtime loss up in Detroit early in the season against Detroit Central Catholic. Looking at Olentangy Liberty, of course, they have not lost all the season, 13-0. Although they came close to it last week, Lorraine gave them quite the push, and Liberty had to come back for a 24-20 win. Of course, we all know with Liberty and the Patriots, Brendan White, the Ohio State commit, is the one to watch. He plays just about everywhere for this team. He played at quarterback to start the year. He plays there at a wildcat spot, running back, receiver, safety, and linebacker. Of course, I think with the Buckeyes like him at safety, so we'll see what kind of matchup problems he can prevent for the St. Ignatius D, which has a ton of shutouts. I think 5 was the last time I noted it. I might have lost track of how many shutouts St. Ignatius has had this season, but we'll see how Olentangy Liberty can push them. And, of course, it's more than just him. Mitchell Okuli, a sophomore quarterback, has passed for over 1,000 yards, really taking that quarterback job when Brendan White had his leg injuries earlier this year and had to miss a couple of games. Matt Webb is their leading rusher. Of course, you know, as much as White does, he is not their leading rusher. Matt Webb is a name to watch tonight. Also, Johnny Wiseman. They've got a couple of receivers as well. This Liberty team has been quite potent. We'll see if they can become the third team that keeps Ignatius to a close game. That's it for now. I'm Matt Gould at MGOUL on Twitter. Follow me all night for updates. We'll have video highlights from this one.
All right, we'll check in with Matt Gould throughout the night. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll preview the other Division I regional or state semifinal, actually. It's Pickerington Central and Xavier. On the other side of break, you're watching Friday Night Huddle. We'll be right back.
Just as athletes need proper sleep for
Nature Stone and never replace your basic flooring again.
Hurry, act now. Get Nature Stone and save up to 50%. That's up to 50% off authentic Nature Stone flooring.
Nature Stone, like me, simply the best.
Act now. Call or visit naturestone.com today.
Football fans, huddle up. Friday nights are about to change forever with Friday Night Huddle. From pregame to postgame and everything in between, Friday Night Huddle is the place for Ohio football action. Combining the resources of cleveland.com, Classic Teleproductions, and Time Warner Cable Sports Channel, Friday Night Huddle gives you unprecedented coverage. You can be part of the action. Get updates as they happen. On cable, online, and on point. Friday Night Huddle. Dominion East Ohio is proud to salute young people in our area who work toward their goals both in the classroom and on the field. We're proud to serve our community and are committed to making a difference. Each year, Dominion partners with schools throughout the region and the entire country to develop new programs aimed at strengthening math and science education in our schools from kindergarten through high school. For more information about our programs, services, and community involvement, www.dom.com. Dominion, it all starts here.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tuesday nights are for Ohio college football. And now, Time Warner Cable Sports Channel is teaming up with your favorite site where Ohio State fans gather, 11 Warriors. Join Marissa Cottapelli and the pros who know the team best as they preview the week ahead. 11 Warriors Report, Tuesday nights at 7, only on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel.
Welcome back inside the Friday Night Huddle. I'm Dave Bacon. Where did the high school football season go? State semifinal weekend about to kick off in about 20 minutes, along with Dan Lobby from cleveland.com and Dave Scozen. I'm Dave Bacon. Guys, let's go to the second Division I game. We already talked about St. Ignatius taking on Olentangy Liberty. The other half of the bracket to meet for that Division I state championship game Friday night at 8 o'clock. It's Pickerington Central 12-1 against 8-5 St. Xavier. St. Xavier, that 8-5, extremely misleading in that they've played one of the toughest schedules in the country by the people that rate those things. The other thing that's really impressive about St. Xavier, they were down 16 to Coleraine a couple weeks ago. They were down 14 to Sycamore and then came back and won in overtime. In fact, 28 points in overtime in the fourth quarter in the game against Sycamore in the regional final. That's a team that knows how to win. That's all that is.
And that's why you play that type of schedule in the regular season. Obviously, you've got to get into the playoffs, so you want to win enough games. But you play that type of schedule to test yourself. We talked about tests with St. Ignatius. You play that type of schedule so that your team can learn how to win games against really good opponents. You're looking at back-to-back overtime wins over two pretty good teams to get to this point against Pickerington Central for the Bombers.
And 2 weeks ago, that game against Coleraine, we saw quite a bit of that on our live look-in. And the thing that occurred to me, at least when we were watching that, was that Coleraine was not letting St. Xavier get anything over the middle. Anything in the middle of the field they had taken away. Well, I mean, they easily enough, St. Xavier came from 16 points down. They did it along the sidelines. They went to the outside. And then ultimately did the same thing. I think the game-winning touchdown pass was right to the pylon. So I think if you're Pickerington Central, you look at it and it's how can what are you going to take away? Do they have to choose what they're going to take away? Can they find a way to evenly distribute that defense so that you're not giving something up to St. X? I think that could be a key in the game tonight for Central.
The other thing that's really impressive about St. Xavier, Sean Clifford is a Penn State recruit. He's been banged up all year, has played some games, didn't play some games. Chase Wolf, the junior who came in, now has an offer recently from Wisconsin. So you've got two guys that are pretty good Big Ten quality quarterbacks that you can choose from if you're Steve Specht. If one facet of it isn't working, we go to the other facet. If he has the hot hand, we can go to him. They're really good quarterbacks, obviously. That's a huge advantage. And, oh, by the way, Steve Specht's the defensive guru who came up with the 3-3 stack that has become the rage in high school football, and he's been playing it forever.
Yeah, and to have that luxury of two quarterbacks, a lot of teams, we always say a lot of teams can't even find one. Well, they've got two with Big Ten offers, and Sean Clifford, you watch him play. He's a pro-style quarterback, but he's got some legs. He can move. If you give him room to run around a little bit, he can beat you with his legs. But this guy can spin the football. He's fun to watch.
He is. And you know what? Chase Wolf, gamer. He can throw the football. He can run. He's not the prototypical size. He's not the 6'4" guy, but he's athletic. He's a heck of an athlete, and he plays quarterback really well to boot. Let's shift gears pretty quickly. Let's go on to Division II. One of the state semifinals, a rematch, as Massillon Perry takes on Hudson. These two teams met in the state semifinals a year ago, and Massillon Perry came away with a 10-7 win. Kind of interesting because Hudson didn't get inside of Perry's 30-yard line in that game, but they missed 3 field goals between 35 and 45 yards from a guy who's an All-Ohio kicker, Grant Gagne. He broke his leg a couple weeks ago. He's not in there, but that's how tight that game was. 10-7, defensive struggle. I think there's a little bit of an advantage for Hudson because Perry runs that wing T, and in fact, now this will be the third year because the year before that, they played earlier in the Division I playoffs when both were Division I teams before they added the 7th division. There's some familiarity with what Perry does running the football in that wing T, and that's always difficult is how quickly you can adjust to that.
There is, and I think has been a case of a lot of people underestimating what Hudson was able to do. Maybe look at their loss to McKinley, a loss to Twinsburg, a team that did not have a winning record, and say, okay, it's Hudson. They're not as good as they had been. But we saw what they were able to do defensively against Aurora a couple of weeks ago and shut down Bubba Arslanian and that crew, what they were able to do last week against Warren Harding. And so I think that puts a little bit of a different perspective on things. No matter how successful Massillon Perry has been this year and how well they've been playing, I think they've won 9 games in a row. But Hudson has that ability, for whatever reason, to be able to match up. And so I think this is going to be a great game. This is going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, I was kind of giving you grief a couple weeks ago when you said they've shown they can scheme. I'm like, okay, Lynn Bowden is not, good luck scheming Lynn Bowden. Well, they found a way to minimize. They did the same thing with Weston Bridges. Now, unfortunately, at the end of that game, Weston Bridges got hurt, pretty significant injury, but they had him shut down. That's one of the top running backs in the state. He's headed to Michigan State. So there's nobody on this Hudson team that you look at and say, boy, he's a superstar, but they have all the pieces and they seem to find a way to win late.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned their path here, that they've stopped teams that can run the football in Copley, Aurora, and then Lynn Bowden obviously can sling the football a little bit as well, but
he
does a lot of damage with his legs, and he had over 300 rushing yards a few weeks ago before they played Hudson. So this is a team that knows how to stop the run. And one thing you always know about Hudson defensively, they're going to be prepared and they're going to be disciplined.
Those are two
both
keys.
Of those things give them chances to stop that wing T attack. Those are the two things you've got to be: disciplined and prepared.
And they do have guys that played last year, so it's not like this is completely foreign to them. And they realize, when you see the wing T some, you realize, I got to stay in my lane. I got to be disciplined. If I try to over-pursue, if I try to be a hero defensively, that's when the wing T really, really makes you pay. And those are two things Hudson has done very well.
Another interesting thing that came up this week, Coach Keith Wakefield for Massillon Perry came out and said, I'm going to stay off social media this week because, like we said, 2 years ago they lost 29-0 in one of the earlier rounds of the playoffs. Last year, going into the Hudson game, he had tweeted or Instagrammed or something to the effect of making fun of the affluence of Hudson and helping motivate his players in that sense. He said, I'm going to back off a little bit from it this year. So I kind of, he's been around a long time, and that's another one of those things where you look and say, all right, this guy knows what he's doing, and you got to, respect that maybe he's pushing some of the right buttons this year with Perry.
We look at the other side of that bracket, and it's LaSalle taking on White House Anthony Wayne, and that sets up last year's Division II state championship game was Massillon Perry and LaSalle. So that you could end up with a rematch, and that was not a good match for Massillon Perry. LaSalle took control of that game, and LaSalle, they play in the GCL South. That's St. Xavier, that's Moeller, that's Elder, and that's LaSalle. So that's pretty brutal. And LaSalle has played very, very good competition. White House Anthony Wayne does have the running game and the methodical, grounded-out style that, in theory, if you can do that, that's how you beat LaSalle. You keep the football out of their hands, and you don't let them, you do to them what they do. We're going to put a 14-play drive, and we're going to keep your highfalutin offense on the sidelines, if you will.
And, they've relied so much on Nick Schneider, of course, their running back, throughout these playoffs. And last week they got to take on an Olmsted Falls team that likes to run the football as much as they do. But they've beaten Glenville. They've beaten Avon Lake. Never thought you'd say this about Avon Lake, but that's a team that likes to throw the football around. Glenville will throw the football around a little bit too. So they've beaten teams of differing styles, but it's really going to be about, can they get another big game out of Nick Schneider? Can they keep that offense off the field?
And the curve, there's a grading curve. There's LaSalle, and they're, you could argue they are competitive with the final three of the final four teams in Division I, because they in fact played them. They played St. Xavier and played them well. So the big thing, I think, for White House Anthony Wayne, if you fall behind early, you're not playing the LaSalle team that won the state championship last year. A bunch of those guys graduated. They do have some of the guys back, but a bunch of them graduated. And, don't let it get in your head. That's the big thing. If LaSalle gets up on teams, they generally make them pay.
And you would think that that's how they've gotten this far if you're Anthony Wayne. It's the ability to not get buried if you are falling behind early. Their head coach, Andy Brungard, was actually the defensive coordinator at Perrysburg the last 7 years. And, I mean, they had back-to-back undefeated seasons coming into this year, a very good program there, and now he's come to White House Anthony Wayne and taken a team that was 4-6 last year, turned them around, gotten them to the state semifinals. So, but you're right, it's still LaSalle. Yeah. I mean, this is going to be, especially based on Anthony Wayne's schedule throughout the year, I mean, this will be the toughest test that they have faced to this point.
Well, anybody in Division II, LaSalle would be the toughest test you face. But you know what? If you're a player, you got to embrace that. And if we knock off LaSalle, nobody but the guys in our locker room expected us to do that. And that's the way you approach it. Another division that we'll take a look in, Division IV. And when you look at Division IV, the Perry Panthers from out Lake County way, 13-0 on the year, taking on Steubenville. Steubenville's lone loss to St. Vincent St. Mary. That's on this half of the bracket. Other half of the bracket, Hartley and Alter. And again, you could have a rematch of the Division IV state championship game where Steubenville and Hartley played last season. So again, teams back in the Final Four that have had a history of success. Let's start with Perry and Steubenville. Perry has been the really exciting story and just the really good story to see him. First time they're in a state semifinal game, and it's good to see.
Yeah, and Coach Matt Rosati told the parents and players before the playoffs started, got bad news for you. We're going to practice on Thanksgiving this year. And here they are. They practiced on Thanksgiving, undefeated, their first state semifinal appearance. They thrive on taking care of the football, not turning it over very often, and then defensively, they can force a bunch of turnovers, and they can create points off of those turnovers. And it starts with Colston Brewster. They have a great secondary, Andy Foley and Josh Petrocelli, 18 combined interceptions. So that's a very, very good defense and an offense that can throw the ball around, but it's a safe offense. Sometimes when you're slinging the ball around, you can turn it over a lot, but Perry doesn't really do that.
And over the course of the season, Perry's had a lot of lopsided victories, and that's part of, I think, what comes along with getting to 13-0. But a couple of weeks ago when they played Woodridge, they were behind, and they were behind by quite a bit at halftime, managed to come back and win that game in overtime. So in that sense, I think they're battle-tested. So to play Steubenville and all the state championships and all the history and everything that's there, even if they do fall behind, they can go back and say, you know what, we've been here before. Let's just go do this.
And how about the job Coach Rosati has done? It's a guy that doesn't get maybe enough credit for what he's done getting the Pirates into their first state semifinal appearance.
And, you can tell he trusts his team because he goes for 2 in playoff games to go for wins. We've seen that a couple times already this season, and that sends a message to the players that I trust you guys to give you one play in overtime to try to win this game. He's done that a couple of times, and I think players feed off of that. Eventually, maybe that luck runs out, but it's certainly gotten them to this point.
Yeah. Well, our Tim Bielik from cleveland.com is covering the Perry and Steubenville game, and Tim joins us with a preview of this one. Take it away, Tim.
This is Tim Bielik with cleveland.com and the Friday Night Huddle. I'm here tonight at Spartan Stadium in Boardman, Ohio for the Division IV state semifinal between the Perry Pirates and the Big Red of Steubenville. The Pirates are making their debut in the state semifinals, while the Big Red, last year's Division IV state championship game runners-up, are here for the 17th time in school history. I'll give you a player to watch for each team in tonight's matchup. For Perry, it's got to be the junior quarterback, Colston Brewster. The lefty was a first-team All-Lakes District selection, and in the playoffs, he's thrown for more than 900 yards to lead the Pirates this far. He also had a 550-plus yard game in the regional semifinal against Woodridge. For Steubenville, looking at tight end Charles Reeves, a Pittsburgh commit at 6'4", 6'5", a tremendous target and a tall weapon out there for the Steubenville offense. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at Bielik_Tim or using the hashtag Friday Huddle for updates and highlights throughout tonight's state semifinals.
And we will check in with Tim quite often to see what's going on with Steubenville and the Perry Pirates. The other half of that bracket, again, is that's a really interesting matchup that you can see online at twccable.com. It will be streamed live check your local listings during the weekend, as that Hartley-Alter game will be on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel as a replay later this weekend. But Hartley and Alter are two teams that really like to run the football, both big-time histories as far as tradition goes in football. Ed Domsites has been the coach at Alter for a long time. Brad Birchfeld is developing the same type of history there with the Hartley Hawks. That's a really interesting matchup and probably one of the closer ones, regardless of division.
And like you said, both teams will run the football, and the guy to watch is going to be Marquette Dixon. 2,246 rushing yards this season, 34 touchdowns, 2 sacks, 5.5 tackles for loss. Does everything for Bishop Hartley, who comes into this game at 11-2. They're not going to throw the ball a lot. Jake Ruby threw the ball, I think, 5 times last week, so
he will make
they're going to keep it on the ground. But they will, when they do throw the ball, it can be effective.
Ruby will make good decisions. He's got it started for a number of years. I looked at that and I'm like, this kid's still in high school. Ruby's good quarterback, makes really good decisions. And Ed Domsites,
42 years he's been at Alter.
Yeah.
And, there is some history between these two schools as well, in that Alter won the state championship in 08 and 09. There were others, but they won in 08 and 09, lost to Hartley in 2010 in the playoffs, who went on to win the state championship. And so there's history there. They tend to intertwine quite a bit. And so, that and Marquette Dixon, pretty good reasons to pay attention to this game tonight.
Yeah, Ed Domsites has been a running guy forever, with one exception. He had a kid named Malik Zaire, who is a quarterback at Notre Dame, and his senior year, he completely changed everything and threw the football because he knew he had a special talent in Malik Zaire. Now, Zaire can run and throw, but that's the sign of a pretty good coach. When you go against what you do historically,
for 30-plus years at that point, or almost 40 years.
Because you know
sure.
you have a special talent and you can take advantage of. That's a sign of a really good coach, flat out.
Yeah, and a lot of coaches are sometimes hesitant to do that. A kid comes in and, they don't want to let the kid think he's bigger than the program, so he says, well, I'm going to fit you into my system. But just to see him do that, it just shows that he can obviously reach his kids. He's willing to adjust for them, and I'm sure that even though this team looks similar to all his other teams, there's probably some little adjustments here and there he's made to kind of fit the talent he's got.
And by all accounts, he's a guy that really enjoys what he's doing. It's not like, I've been there 42 years and this and that. But it sounds like he has a lot of fun, and being able to open up the game like that, I think, indicates that too.
Yeah, and so that'll be an interesting matchup. And again, we could have. Division II has the potential of having a rematch with Massillon Perry taking on LaSalle in the championship game. Division IV with Steubenville against Bishop Hartley from Columbus. So 2 and 4 could be rematches. Division I, it's not going to be a rematch. Wayne and St. Ed's both exited in the regional finals. So we know for certain the Division I game will be new blood, if you will, and we're heading about the time that things are going to kick off. Which of the divisions really kind of has your eye? And I'll start with you, Dan.
You know what? I'm very curious about Perry and Steubenville. Just as I know that's a specific game, maybe not the division overall, but I just want to know, is Perry for real? Obviously, they're in the state semifinals, but now they're playing Steubenville. This is one of the great programs in Ohio high school history. We know that, and it's not like they were great a long time ago and aren't good anymore. They're still a great team. So I really want to see if Perry can kind of crash the party next week.
Well, and that's the one that has really distinct differences as far as experience in state championships. Steubenville is kind of used to it. Brand new experience for Perry. Dave.
I'll go Division VI. Why not?
We're coming up on that.
I know we haven't gone there yet, but Cuyahoga Heights 13-0. I know after they won a couple of weeks ago, it was like, well, but they've got to play Kirtland again. Watch out, they got to play Kirtland. Well, they shut them out again. And so I think what I'm most curious about is we're going to find out how good is this Cuyahoga Heights Redskins team. Newark Catholic, 9-4 to this point on the season. The other side of that bracket, though, Maria Stein, Marion Local, they have, 8 state championships in the last 20 years that they've won. They become a perennial powerhouse at that level. Patrick Henry, They get to the playoffs a lot. They're undefeated this year. So for me, there's a lot of intrigue in that bracket.
I'll tell you what, Newark Catholic is another school like Marion Local. Marion Local plays in the MAC, so they're forced to play Coldwater, St. Henry, Versailles, all those perennial powers. Newark Catholic's a team that always seems to be there in the state semis or the regional finals. They're a private school in Division VI, which means they're usually playing some Division V, some Division IV, even some Division III teams, and they play up, and they always seem to hit their stride come playoff time. A very good program. I mean, among the best as far as playoff wins. I think they're second only to St. Ignatius in all-time playoff record. So Newark Catholic is a team that's always very good. Cuyahoga Heights, if you shut out Kirtland once, that's impressive. If you shut them out twice in the same year, you're doing a lot of things really well.
Yeah, and they broke that streak of not beating Kirtland, and it's kind of that old, well, to be the best, you've got to beat the best. Well, they beat the team that has been the best in Division VI a number of times over in this decade. So, they rely on Lucas DeRazio, who we had an interview with him on this show, who said he was on the sideline the last time the Cuyahoga Heights beat Kirtland. His brother was playing for the team. Well, he's kind of carried on that legacy. They've got some weapons in the passing game in Dylan Drummond. That team is very much for real. But in these smaller divisions, this is when it gets really tough. You know, those early rounds of the playoffs, the better teams are usually just the better teams. This is where now you've kind of weeded everybody out, and it gets really difficult.
You talked about Newark Catholic's schedule. They didn't play anyone smaller than Division V until they got to the playoffs. And their losses this year are a couple of D2 teams and 2 Division IV teams. So they're prepped and ready, and they get a lot of those points playing higher division schools.
Well, and it's kind of like St. Ignatius and St. Xavier on that level, because the D5 and the D6 teams, by and large, won't play them because they're that good. So they kind of view it as, okay, we'll play up, and if we go 6-4, 7-3 in the regular season, we're going to get enough playoff points to make the playoffs, and we're going to be that much better at the end of the day because we've done that. So for Cuyahoga Heights, their quarterback Brett Lothar has been outstanding, just a great athlete. If the Redskins are going to win a title, they're going to earn it. If you beat Kirtland, Newark Catholic, potentially Marion Local, back-to-back-to-back, any type of hardware you get, you've just earned.
Yeah, and you got to look at their offensive line. That's an area where I wonder if some of these teams will attack, because biggest kid on the line is 240. There's another kid at 225. Everybody else on that line is under 200 pounds. So it's not a big line. It's a more athletic line. It's a line that they're going to have to move a little bit in the running game. They're not going to just be able to block straight on. So it'll be interesting to see if that's a point of attack for defenses, and how Cuyahoga Heights is able to protect their quarterback, because they do want to throw the football and they do want to get big plays in the passing game.
He's a baseball player, so he's a guy that, be careful if you come at him.
Yeah.
He can get around you and do some things too, being Brett Lothar. So I think that's an interesting matchup. It's Newark Catholic. They're kind of like, we're here, we're supposed to be here. This is where our season. This is where if we win, we start etching our names with Newark Catholic teams that are really well thought of.
And I think I'll be interested to see how their defense performs against Cuyahoga Heights, because they've given up some points at different times this year, albeit a couple of times against some of the bigger division schools, giving up 40-plus on more than one occasion. But just to see how they handle what, Cuyahoga Heights, it is a very grind-out sort of offense, but it can wear you out. I mean, we saw that a couple of weeks ago against St. Thomas Aquinas. 2 shutouts in a row for Cuyahoga Heights. We keep talking about Kirtland, but they didn't give up any points the week before either. So that's, I think, what you want to keep an eye on. How will Newark Catholic's defense keep Cuyahoga Heights really out of the end zone, I think is the key to the whole thing.
Let's check in with Ryan Isley. He will be covering that game for us, our cleveland.com reporter. Take it away, Ryan.
At Red Rider Stadium, I'm Ryan Isley for cleveland.com and Friday Night Huddle. Tonight's Division VI state semifinal in Orrville features the Cleveland Heights Redskins versus Newark Catholic. The Cuyahoga Heights Redskins come in 13-0. They won Region 21, where they were the top seed. Newark Catholic comes in at 9-4. They were the number 5 seed in Region 23 and advanced to the state semifinals. Tonight's biggest matchup might be the Cleveland Heights defense versus the Newark Catholic offense. Cuyahoga Heights has held 11 of their 13 opponents to 14 points or less, including 2 straight shutouts in the postseason. Now, for Newark Catholic, when they score 14 or less, they lose. All 4 games in which they've scored under 14 points are their 4 losses. It'll be interesting tonight to see what the Cuyahoga Heights defense has in store for Newark Catholic. That and more storylines later. Follow us on cleveland.com and Friday Night Huddle.
Get the rest.
Well, there you have Ryan Isley. On the other side of that bracket in Division 6 is Marion Local. Don't need to say much more than that. They're taking on Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry unbeaten. But Marion Local, again, that MAC conference out towards it's the western part of Ohio, northwest part of Ohio. That's just outstanding small school football. And it's really cool. I've actually had the chance to go out there and call a couple of games. I've been to Versailles, I've been to St. Henry. I've actually been to Maria Stein, probably to do a game. One of the things that goes on is on the varsity field, you have the high school kids playing. And then on the side is like the 6th and 7th and 8th graders, and they're all playing against each other. And it's just one of the coolest things because you can tell those kids are waiting to get to play on the big field where everybody is watching. The town's shut down. In Versailles, when we came up, the volunteer fire department met us, and you know, they were kind of talking to us about the game. So it's just a really cool atmosphere with those towns and the way they get into it, and especially come playoff time. But Marion Local lost in the state championship game a year ago to Kirtland. And that's a game Marion Local had the lead in. Kirtland came back and won. So you can be sure that the players that return from that Marion Local team want to get back to the shoe and finish it the way they think it should be finished.
Yeah, because when they were playing on that field,
exactly.
before they got to high school, that was probably, they were thinking about state championships.
That's all they think about.
The thing about the Flyers, you look at their schedule and you just count up the zeros that they've given up. 7 shutouts this season. It's incredible. The most points they've given up, 15 last week to Mechanicsburg. That's a 12-1 team. Actually, there's a 17 there. I missed that. Coldwater, 12-1. So the only teams that have scored anything against them have been pretty good teams, and even those teams haven't been able to put up big numbers against them.
Coldwater is an elite Division 5 team, so they put up 17 against them. That's in that conference, and that conference usually has multiple state champions. They've had as many as 3. Last year, Marion Local didn't get it done. Coldwater, I believe, did, and as did Fort Recovery, who won their first championship in Division 7. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch as that develops. You know, Newark Catholic or Cuyahoga Heights against the winner of that game. Go ahead.
5.1 points per game is the Marion Local defensive number for this year. It's funny, you talk about the volunteer fire department and the booster club and all the kids playing. I grew up in a little town over in northwest Ohio. Now, we're not the football powerhouse. Elmore Woodmore, shout out. But about 10 years ago was the last time they made the playoffs, and they snuck in as the 8 seed and lost 56-0 to Marion Local. So I've got a little sense of what that's like. But you're right, it's a different sort of thing where you literally are. And those of us that didn't play football were still throwing the football around on the sidelines during the game. But it is such a different feel. But that's where, you know, I kind of look at Patrick Henry and their coach, Bill Enselman. This is his 24th year coaching, but he's just taken 2 years off. And so he just came back, and now he's got his team at 13-0. So when we talk about motivating and all those sorts of things, I mean, a guy that came from Patrick Henry, had been there for a long time. I mean, you don't get to this point too often, so don't discount what the Patriots could do tonight.
No, absolutely. And you know, back when he was there before, that was high flying. They like to throw the football around, so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, don't discount any of it. When you get to the Final Four, doesn't matter what your record is, there's a reason you're there. It's because you've found a way to win football games. You've won close games. You've beaten the teams. You can only beat the teams that are on your schedule. How many times did we say that? And both of these teams have done that.
And there is something to be said about a team that has played 13 games and has won all 13 games. These kids have probably been together in these small towns and these small communities for years, playing together and learning to play together. And there's something to be said about learning to win and taking that experience with you. And all it takes is, sometimes you got to get that game to the fourth quarter and make it a 12-minute game, and then anything can happen.
Well, it's past 7:30, so that means all of our state semifinal games have kicked off, and we'll be taking some live look-ins and getting highlights coming in. And again, teams just one win away. Teams that win tonight are playing for a state championship, and that's for anybody that plays. That's the reason these kids go out and play. That's the dream. And there's a number of them that haven't been to state championships. A number of programs that can be to their first ever state championship.
And I think you also have a minute to step back and look at who are we maybe the most surprised to see in the Final Four in their division. I know we talked about Division II and Hudson a little bit. I think if you went back 3 or 4 weeks and said, okay, which team out of this region is gonna make it to the Final Four, they're probably one of them. I think anything that happened in Division II, Region 6, when Avon #1, got beat by Avon Lake in the first round. I mean, to see Anthony Wayne come out of there. But I think, just to have an appreciation for these teams that, frankly, probably came out of the blue. And I understand Hudson's been there before, but I'm talking about this season.
Right.
When you looked and said, oh, let's pick who we think could win this region, I'd say Anthony Wayne and Hudson are two of the least likely that a lot of us probably looked at going into the playoffs.
Hudson's still trying to get to that state championship. I mean, they've been very good,
yes,
but they haven't got over the hump of the state semifinals.
Well, they ran into St. Ed's at one point.
Perry last year.
Right.
And if you're Hudson, this is why you were excited when you got moved down to Division II. You're not one of the smaller schools in Division I now. You're in a division that you can go and win. 3 straight state semifinals appearance. They're trying to get over that hump.
Well, we have our first update of the night is Division IV state semifinal game. Perry taking on the Big Red from Steubenville, and it's going to be the Steubenville Big Red early in that football game. And Big Red moved down the field, and Steubenville going to get on the scoreboard with a touchdown run. The short run makes it a 7-0 Steubenville lead in Division IV in that state semifinal game. 6-0. Jumped the gun there. So Steubenville with a 6-0 lead in the first quarter.
No worries. If you're Perry, no problem. I mean, they, like we talked about a little bit earlier, they've been behind before. They've played tight games. What was it, week 2 or week 3? They played Madison, and nobody scored until there were about 5 minutes left in the game. So, I mean, from the Pirates' standpoint, I think you say, all right, 7-0. We'll keep on doing our thing here.
Well, you certainly hope so. You hope that the moment doesn't get away because and you wouldn't expect it with a team that's 13-0, but Steubenville's been to a bunch of, as chronicled in our preview by Tim Bielek, they've been to the state semifinals, I believe it's 18 times. Sure. This is the first for Perry. So if you're Coach Rosati, you're just saying, guys, relax. We've been behind how many times? So the worst thing in the world, you don't want to let it snowball.
And 16 Final Fours, 3 state championships, 4 runners-up. So that's getting to the state final 7 times. But if you are Steubenville, this is exactly what you wanted to do. Put that in Perry's head if you think you can, that, hey, we're here, we've been here, we should be going to the state championship, go ahead and try and beat us. So from the Big Red standpoint, things couldn't have worked out any better so far.
And they're looking for a little redemption as they lost in the state championship game to Hartley in Division IV a year ago. So Big Red wants back there and try to right that result that they had last year.
Yeah, how about Jacob Bernard? 15 touchdowns now on that rushing score. He's had a great year, 1,275 yards.
Jacob Bernard
coming into this game.
Well, one of the games that we're going to take live look-ins of is the Hudson-Massillon-Perry game. Again, this is a rematch from the state semifinal game a year ago that the Perry Panthers beat Hudson 10-7. And as we take a look, Again, this game, you can see it on channel 23 on Time Warner Cable channel 23. It's one of the overflow channels, and it's the Hudson Explorers with the ball out near midfield, and that's actually Colt Pelé pulling it, little zone read. Well defended that time by the Perry Panthers. We mentioned Colt Pelé, a guy that can throw the football, although, you know, they showed a little zone read action there with him. But Pelé is the guy that sees the whole field. That's one of the reasons that the Explorers use him.
You know what's interesting? When they played Aurora 2 weeks ago, we kept talking about how a lower scoring game probably favored Hudson because we've seen Aurora roll up a bunch of points of the running game.
And there's the running game, and getting through the hole and out into Perry territory. Dawson Worvey with a big run.
But here you wonder if it's maybe the other way around, because you think of Perry and look at the score last year when Perry was able to win 10-6 in the state semifinal game. That but maybe a higher scoring game could favor Hudson in this instance, the opposite of what we saw 2 weeks ago.
Andrew Studer, the center, with the block that opened up a big hole. So the ball's now at the 45-yard line of the Perry Panthers. Little jet sweep, and again, big running room as a pickup of 6 yards on first down. And Dawson Worvey again. You find a way to get the ball in his hands as he continues to move it. So midway through that first quarter, and it looks like the Explorers moving the football as it's now inside the Perry 40-yard line. Now, we mentioned in that game last year, Hudson didn't get inside the Perry 30-yard line. They had that touchdown that was a 31-yard. A Pelé going up top, and he's got, incomplete. Maley had the defense beat, and Greg Maley couldn't hang on to it.
That was a really nice throw.
It was.
Really nice
Greg
throw.
Maley wants that one back.
Boy, right on cue, too, for what you were saying. They had the 31-yard touchdown throw last year. Oh, man, if you're him, you got to feel a little bit sick right now after that one.
Great call. They faked that jet sweep again. He got behind the defense. And
Did Perry get a hand in there?
Maybe.
No.
Might have disrupted it, but
tell.
I guarantee you, if you go back and you ask Greg Maley, he says, I make that catch 9 out of 10 times.
He's their big play. To get on this play.
He's their big play wide receiver. They're down at 4 now for Hudson. Pelé going to throw again, buy some time, and he's brought down, thrown back for a loss. A nice tackle for the Perry Panthers as Zach Blackiston, defensive lineman, gets through and makes the tackle. Pelé looked like he was going to have some room, but Blackiston did a nice job right here coming up and closing. Pelé, a big guy, too, brought him down.
Good job getting back to that line. Well, I thought maybe they would go for it in this area. I was going to say, good job getting back close to the line of scrimmage so you could set up a 4th down opportunity, but it looks like they're going to punt.
Jonah Wieland is their punter. Fair catch called for and made. So the Panthers defense holds. It'll be 1st and 10 from inside their 15-yard line. As making that catch was Tevion Cleveland. So a nice job of holding tough by the Perry Panthers late in the first quarter. That game's still scoreless.
Chris Fedor's the unofficial commissioner
Yes,
of the
he
Federal
is.
League, right?
Yes,
So now I have
he's
big
missing out.
shoes to fill, so I need to stand up for the lone remaining Federal League survivor, the Perry Panthers tonight. But yeah, that defense.
Oh, St. Xavier driving on Pick Central. That's Clifford, and he throws it into the end zone. Touchdown, Cameron Specht.
Worked the outside.
So St. Xavier takes the early lead as Sean Clifford rolling, and he finds Cameron Specht 6-0. St. Xavier 8-5 on the year.
You got to respect his legs, even though he is that pro-style quarterback. You got to respect him in that area.
They
a lot
flooded
of one-on-one
it.
coverage.
You saw they put Andrew Whitrock, number 12, the bigger wide receiver, and Specht, the guy that works the slot, underneath him. Point after, knocked through 7-0. St. Xavier leads with just over 5.5 minutes remaining. If you want to see this game in its entirety, 3:11 in Southwest Ohio. In the other parts of the state, in mid and northeast Ohio, this game will be on a replay on tape delay. But if you live in Southwest Ohio, this game is on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel, 311, 1311. And that will be going on live right now in its entirety. 7-0. So we had mentioned St. Xavier playing from behind, and a good look at Cameron Specht. He is an outstanding return guy. Got to see them in the game where they lost to St. Ignatius. And that game, both of those teams still alive, so that could be a state championship rematch from about week 7. But that game got away from St. Xavier. They were down 21-7 in the first half, and they cheated up and put an extra guy in the box to try to slow down the Wildcats' run game. And Patrick Ryan hit a couple of long pass plays. I think he had a 55-yarder. There was a 63-yarder and a 48-yarder in the second half. So 3 long pass plays that added up to a 31, I think it was 31-14. I'll check that.
I'd be curious to know where they started that drive. I mean, they're about halfway through the first quarter. Has Pickerington Central had the ball yet? I mean, you would assume so probably at some point, but that's what I'm the most curious about. I mean, Central coming off a win over Wayne, which is I mean, they hadn't lost since the state championship game
on a last-second field
goal. So, but they beat them.
Sure.
You're discounting it. They still beat them.
No, I'm not discounting it.
But no, I'm giving you a hard time. But I would be curious just to see how that unfolded to get them right down there to the goal line, and now let's see what Central does as a response.
Well, the flip side of that is St. Xavier's defense is very good. You don't want, if you're playing from ahead, that's great. If you're playing from behind, they're going to pin their ears back, and they're going to make you one-dimensional. You can't be one-dimensional against St. Xavier's defense. You have to be able to mix it up, or it's going to be a really long game. They'll be able to take away something.
Do they have a preference? Which
depends on who they're playing. Depends on who they're playing. They play a 3-3 stack. So what it is they have 5 DBs, 3 of their safeties. They play 3 safeties. 2 of them are usually 195, 200-pounders that if they were at a different place would be pretty good outside linebackers. But at St. Xavier, we make them safeties, and they play safeties in college usually as well.
You wanted to know where that drive started. It started at the St. X 48 following a Pickerington Central fumble. So a turnover coming back to haunt the Tigers a little bit. They did not have the opening possession. X went 3 and out, but then Central fumbled the football on the 5th play of their ensuing drive.
I think that bodes well for Pickerington Central. The fact that they weren't necessarily stopped. They did have a defensive stop initially against St. X. So see how it goes here.
All right. Well, let's head back to Spartan Stadium, Boardman, Ohio. That's the site of the Division IV state semifinal game. The Perry Pirates making their first ever appearance in a state semifinal game, taking on a team that's been there quite a bit in the Big Red from Steubenville. And we've got another highlight as we take a look. And Steubenville's offense at it again, this time rolling out and into the end zone. Look at the big target there. Touchdown Steubenville as Big Red gets back at it. 13-0. Reeves with the touchdown there.
He is he's committed to Pitt, verbal commit to Pitt. Big tight end. You mentioned it, 6'6", 240 pounds. Almost 700 receiving yards coming into this game, has scored a few times. When you have a tight end like that in high school football, that is a matchup nightmare for almost any defense.
Well, hopefully he's okay. He kind of stayed down there at the end of that play, the way that it looks. But yeah, 13-0 again. Steubenville doing what they need to do is come out and say, we've been to the state championship game plenty of times. You haven't. Now we're ahead 13-0.
And again, let's see how the Perry Pirates respond. You know, they've been down. They were down to a pretty good Woodridge team a couple weeks ago, came back and won that one in overtime. But again, if you're Perry, you want to slow the momentum down. Don't let it get away from you first, second quarter. You know, keep it within striking distance. Put together a drive just to slow down the momentum of that game. That's kind of what, if I'm Coach Rosati, that's what I'm telling him. I'm sure I'm paraphrasing. I'm sure there are similar thoughts that are being echoed on the Pirates sidelines right now.
If you can stay, obviously you'd love to get within a score by the half. If you can stay within 2 scores, though, whatever that number is, 2 scores, that's going to help you. It gets to 3 scores, you're in some real trouble at that point.
Yeah, exactly, because they know you have to throw.
Yeah.
And Steubenville, they're going to just start pinning their ears back and coming at you.
And I think that's where they were in the Woodridge game, right? Wasn't it 27-13 or 27-14, somewhere like that at halftime? So you're absolutely right about the 2-score.
The other thing is you just don't want to let it. You don't want the doubt to keep in mind. 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. You don't want them. You got to get them back focused. Task at hand.
And I don't care, what the players have said, what the coaches have said about it. Steubenville is still Steubenville.
Yeah.
You see that helmet, you know that program. It can be a little intimidating maybe at first. Not to say that Perry is scared of the Big Red or anything, but you walk out on that field, you've heard so much about Steubenville, you know about Steubenville. It can catch you a little bit. And, so now they've got to kind of take a deep breath and try and work their way back into this game.
And that size, too. I mean, we can see it watching just the highlights shot on an iPhone. That I mean, they're big. Steubenville's got some big guys
boys
on that team. Makes a difference.
And talk about the job Pitt has done. They not only have Reeves, the big tight end, they're getting Todd Sibley, running back, who we'll see on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel tomorrow night in the Division III state semifinal game when they play an unbeaten DeSales team. So. Those are two really good players that I think have futures that are going to be pretty good on Saturday afternoon, and they may even get a chance to show they can do something on Sunday afternoons.
Yeah, I mean, Todd Sibley, because we do this show every Friday night, we haven't gotten a chance to talk about him a lot in the playoffs, but anyone who's seen him run, I mean, he's the complete package. Dave, I know you and I did a few of his games last year. He's the complete package at running back. Power, speed, not a huge kid. Big enough, though, just a really good running back.
So it's tip of the cap to the Pitt Panthers.
Yeah.
They got a couple of really
Coming
good
into
football
Ohio,
players.
Beaten Penn State and Clemson this year, and
so
look out.
We're approaching the 8 o'clock hour, so the state semifinal games are getting towards that end of the first quarter, and we're going to step aside and take a quick timeout. Friday Night Huddle, state semifinal action, and we've got Division I, Division II, Division IV, and Division VI going on tonight. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll be right back on the Friday Night Huddle.
Before I decided to go back to Tri-C to become a nurse, I was a stay-at-home mom. Absolutely wanted to be a pediatric nurse. I love taking care of kids. If you're thinking about changing your career or changing your path, go to Cuyahoga Community College. I feel like I'm in a great place in my life. I have 3 great kids. I have a great job that I love. I could not have done it without Tri-C. My name's Diana Geary. I earned my nursing degree from Cuyahoga Community College.
Just as athletes need proper sleep for optimum performance, so do fans. To be your best, you need your rest on a properly fitted mattress from Mattress Warehouse. A good night's sleep on the right mattress prepares you for whatever the day throws at you. Visit Mattress Warehouse for a custom sleep assessment, and we'll help you find the right mattress for a great night's sleep and a productive day. Sleep like a champion, play like a champion with the perfect mattress from Mattress Warehouse.
Wednesday nights, more sports and Les Levine is live at 6. Then at 7, Access Crew SC. And at 7:30, High School Blitz Preview. It all starts Wednesday night at 6. Follow us on social media at TWC Sports OH. Across town and across the region, this is where fans belong. Time Warner Cable Sports Channel.
The Emmy Award-winning High School Sports Insider features Ohio's best high school sports stories. For 17 years, the High School Sports Insider has been spotlighting role model students, outstanding athletes, and the Buckeye State's best teams. In-depth features from all sports, all school year long. For the best high school sports coverage, make sure you tune into the High School Sports Insider each and every week on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel.
As World Heavyweight Champion, Clevelander, and spokesman for Nature Stone, we'd like to present you with our own award.
Wow, it's awesome.
We had it made ourselves. It's made of...
Not the award, the floor.
Oh, it's Nature Stone.
Installed over concrete, Nature Stone flooring is tough, durable, long-lasting, and beautiful. Act now and get up to 50% off.
This is the only time you'll see me on the floor.
To schedule your free in-home consultation, go to naturestone.com today.
Football fans, huddle up. Friday nights are about to change forever with Friday Night Huddle. From pregame to postgame and everything in between, Friday Night Huddle is the place for Ohio football action. Combining the resources of cleveland.com, Classic Teleproductions, and Time Warner Cable Sports Channel, Friday Night Huddle gives you unprecedented coverage. You can be part of the action, get updates as they happen, on cable, online, and on point. Friday Night Huddle.
There is a place where dreams arise, stars are born, and greatness is made. What you live for lives here. Time Warner Cable Sports Channel.
Welcome back to the Friday Night Huddle. I'm Dave Bacon, joined by Dan Lobby from cleveland.com, Dave Skozen as well. Let's take a live look in at one of the Division I state semifinals, and St. Ignatius taking on Olentangy Liberty down at Massillon, and Olentangy Liberty with the ball deep in their own territory, and we'll see if we can get that straightened out, but that game scoreless early in the second quarter.
Which is good news for Liberty.
Absolutely.
We talked about what Ignatius can do offensively, and you don't want to fall behind and let them rely on that running game to milk that clock, because Chuck Kyle knows how to milk a clock when he's got a lead. And so that's good news for Liberty that they're through the first 12 and scoreless.
Well, the other thing is with the way they're set up this year, they want to run the football. They want to shorten the game just because that's what they do. They've got a good defense. So absolutely, Liberty, we've said it on a number of occasions. There's a reason the team's 13-0. Liberty's 13-0. And you don't get to be a 13-0 without being a really good football team.
And the thing is, in football, obviously one guy impacts a game, but you've got to be a more complete team. But as that game gets shorter and shorter, a guy like Brendan White all of a sudden becomes more and more valuable because his singular impact just gets bigger and bigger if there's less time in that game.
Yeah. Well, he's an Ohio State recruit, so it's fair to say he's going to be one of the most talented players on the field.
Yeah.
If you make the game close late in it, the guy that's the most talented has a chance to make one play and ruin everything.
And he lines up everywhere, too. He does it from so many. It's not like he's just a quarterback. He does everything. He'll line up everywhere across the field.
The reason they do that is so you can't focus on one way to take him. How are we going to take him out of the game? Well, if we move him here, you got to do something different. If he's the quarterback, you got to do one thing. If we have him at running back, you got to do another thing. If we put him at tight end, you got to do another thing. So that's what you do. You move your best player around so that it's more difficult to take him away.
Yeah. And so far, so good in that. And Liberty had the ball, right?
Yeah, deep in their own territory.
We saw that clip for a second. But at some point, you have to score. It's one thing to keep moving it around and who's where, and that confuses the Ignatius defense. But at some point, they've got to come up with some points. And as you said, they were deep in their own territory from what we saw.
But the flip side of that is if you're Liberty and you're facing a team that's really talented and hasn't had too many close games, shorten the game. I want it as short as possible. If it's nothing in the fourth quarter, I'll take my chances. Really. That's kind of the mindset. How do you beat a team that has a lot of talent? You shorten the game.
Yeah,
you shorten the game, and you take advantage when you have opportunities.
Yeah, make that 48-minute game last 2 hours. And then try and be the team that has the ball at the end.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Well, some of the games that are going on, you've got Hudson and Perry, so it's kind of an interesting matchup as well. Again, we saw that scoreless, and here you go. Hudson and Perry, 9:20 remaining now in the first half.
And we saw where Hudson turned it over twice in the first quarter.
Yep. Well, and they had the chance to score and couldn't take advantage of it.
The drop pass down near the goal line,
Yep.
and that's one of those things where we talked about a little bit earlier, where we've said, in past weeks, lower scoring games perhaps favor the Explorers, but here it sounds like they've had missed opportunities, so the fact that it's lower scoring maybe favors the Panthers a little bit more in this matchup.
See it 1st and 10 from near midfield, the 45-yard line, and there's that wing tee look, and head for pickup of a couple is the running back, and making that carry is actually Nick Myers. Myers not the main back, but he filled in, stepped up last week when Tavion Cleveland was kind of shut down, and Nick Myers got the Perry offense going as that second guy coming in for Cleveland. And they'll do double handoffs and all kinds of crazy things, but a good look at Keith Wakefield, a long-time Massillon Perry head football coach, was there in the 90s, went away for a couple of years, and they hired him back, and he has this program playing again. A nice job of getting rid of the ball by Max Baker, and that was Tavion Cleveland trying to grab it, and he couldn't. Good coverage defensively. That's Jackson Parker coming up and making the play, making the hit. And you see the pressure coming by Joe Sweet that forced that. Sweet, one of those linebackers that Hudson has that's very talented. That linebacking core. Joe Sweet, Alex Beck, Will Orzen. And there's Jeff Goff, interim head coach, filling in for Ron Wright, who took some leave because of family issues and health issues. And Jeff Goff has him in the state semifinals game.
Yeah,
a win away. It's a pretty good job for the interim coach. There's Baker again, trying to step up, breaks a tackle, but look at the white jerseys. Great penetration. That's Orzen. Also there's Studer. And in addition to that, from the defensive line helping out is Sean Weigel, number 52.
You mentioned Nick Myers, what he was able to do last week for Perry against New Albany, 14 carries, 97 yards, and a 57-yard touchdown run. So the Panthers are hoping for some kind of a spark like that if they can get it again this week.
And Weigel, the one from that defensive tackle position that wrestled him down and threw him to the ground, brings up a punting situation as they lost 3, so it's now 4th and 11, and the Explorers come after it. Nice kick, high driving kick. And back at the 15, and out across the 15, out near the 20-yard line. Decent return for Colton Paultani, returning it.
It's a heck of a punt.
Yeah, you'll take
Yeah.
that.
I mean, it really was.
Good pressure up the middle, too, from Hudson on those last 2 plays. That's the worst place as a quarterback to have pressure coming up the middle. First, just right off the snap. Second, on what looked like maybe a little delayed blitz. It just disrupts everything.
Let's go back to that St. Ignatius game against Olentangy Liberty. When we had it earlier, second quarter, and St. Ignatius actually has the 7-0 lead as we're trying to get that all straightened out back there. So St. Ignatius took advantage of a short field after holding Olentangy Liberty, and St. Ignatius with that 7-0 lead.
Not what you wanted, obviously,
No,
if you're Liberty. And we talked about shortening the game. And so, like we had said before, all right, you got through the first quarter scoreless, but at some point you've got to be able to produce with that offense because you're only going to be able to be elusive to St. Ignatius for so long. But obviously, not being able to move the ball and then giving St. Ignatius, as you said, a short field. A tough way to go there for Liberty.
And you mentioned it, Ryan's ability to throw the ball down the field was a 44-yard pass. And so you kind of load up to try and stop the run, and then you get that big pass play from Ryan.
And that's kind of the dilemma when you're playing this year's version of St. Ignatius. They've got the big offensive line. They want to run the football, and they're very good at it. They're averaging over 5 yards a carry running the football. Okay, so we're going to cheat up, and we're going to bring an extra guy in the box. Well, Patrick Ryan's a good enough quarterback, and he throws a deep ball well enough. And they've got 3 different guys. They've got Travis Pott, Mike Lato, Connor Kennedy that all can get deep, and they're very well balanced. And you throw in James Layton as their tight end. it's a matchup problem. You know, it's a numbers. Football is always, we're going to outnumber you. Okay, you're going to bring an extra guy up front. That means I can throw the ball downfield, and that is the success of the offense of the St. Ignatius Wildcats this year.
And you always look for balance too.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was Pott that caught that touchdown pass. You know, Ryan has thrown the ball 8 times. Bobinski has run the ball 9 times. So you're getting balance, and that's just really difficult to defend because when you play St. Ignatius, you've got to kind of overload for something. They're too hard to just match up with one-on-one for most teams, and you've got to do something to try and stop one thing, and then they'll just get you with the other.
Yeah, and you know, that defense is pretty good too. And what happens is if you fall behind a couple of scores, what they're going to do is they're going to just dial up the pressure because if they know you're going to throw, they're going to come and get you. And they've got a very good front 6. If they play the 3-3 stack, but they'll bring those safeties up, front 6 to 8, depending on how many they decide they want to. They're very good. So if you're Liberty, slow the momentum of the game down. It's the same thing. And Liberty hasn't been to a state semifinal game. They're a relatively new high school. Olentangy is a growing suburb in that area, so it's Olentangy Liberty, Olentangy Orange, and those schools are all reasonably young, being
within the
Orange
last
and
10
Liberty.
years or so,
Yeah,
I believe,
10, 12.
for Liberty. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a newer school, but you know, we keep talking about, if you're Liberty, what do you have to do? What do you have to do? I mean, if you're Ignatius, go.
Yeah,
right?
get after it.
You got that touchdown.
Let's
Let's go out there and get another one and try and make this to where at halftime you've taken Liberty out of the game because sure, they came from behind last week against Lorraine. Very different team for a number of different reasons. Another newer high school, frankly, combining the schools in Lorraine. But, if you're St. Ignatius, this is where you put your foot on the gas pedal and see what can happen.
Let's see. Let's take another look in and see what's going on at Mansfield's Arlen Field. It's St. Ignatius taking on Liberty, and the Wildcats have the ball deep in Olentangy Liberty territory. That's Ryan. Patrick Ryan can run as well, cuts it in, close to the end zone.
Did he make it?
Can't tell because the corner of that stadium is very difficult to see. I've been there, and he did not get in, but he got inside the 2-yard line.
Wow.
Here's the ground level. And look at that. That's Darian Kennard.
Yeah.
That's he's knocked out at the 1. A nice job to knock him out of bounds.
Now the first look in that we saw, it was in the second quarter. It was scoreless, and Liberty had the ball. So since then, Ignatius has scored. They're ready to score
John Paulo
again.
is the man that made the tackle there at the 1-yard line. And there's Babinski, and he's into the end. He's into the end zone. He crossed the plane. So Mark Babinski gets onto the board, and it is now a 13-0 Liberty lead, or a Liberty deficit, St. Ignatius lead, and this is what you kind of fear.
Boy, that happened quick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the funny thing about it, because we talk about the offensive line so much with St. Ignatius, and that puts you in the mindset of run. They can dominate, and then it opens up the passing game. But I don't know that turning around 14 points in 2 or 3 minutes.
It was under 4 minutes because it was 0-0 at the start of the second quarter. There's 8:17 left in the second quarter, and it's now 14-0.
Right, and I don't know that that's necessarily how we think of Ignatius. We think of them as we're going to build the lead, and then run the clock out, right? But I mean, all of a sudden, bam, there's 14 points, and Liberty's got to be sitting there thinking, what just happened to us?
But you saw the big play in the run game from Ryan. You know, I mean, that's not necessarily St. Ignatius coming out and throwing the ball all over the place. It's just them running a play with their quarterback. He gets a big run, and then all you have to do is give it to Mark Babinski, and he'll finish it for you.
Well, one of the games that we're keeping track of is the Steubenville and the Perry game. Now, Steubenville got out to a 13-0 lead. Perry cut into that lead with a touchdown, and Big Red is moving the football with it and trying to answer, and Steubenville deep in Pirate territory inside the 5. The handoff to McGee. And lots of blocking, and McGee gets into the end zone. Good fight by McGee. And now they get the 2-point conversion that time, and it is now a 14-point lead again for Steubenville. 21-7. I think that's even a little different, though, than the 13-0 because Perry put points on the board. It shows you we can do it. There's some things you got to address if you're Perry, and one of them's the size. I mean, Steubenville's for a D4 school, they're big. They are big up front, and they are big running the football.
And like we said, it's evident even watching on grainy phone video how much bigger Steubenville is than Perry. But you're exactly right. The fact that the Panthers came back and scored and made it 13-7 at one point, and now this is just the next touchdown. I mean, they're still quote unquote okay for the time being, at least, because they have played from behind before.
And I've got Jalen McGee on my sheet here. Not running the football. I've got him in there as a linebacker. 73 tackles, 6 sacks. He's a big dude.
I'm
sure.
And
there he is punishing on the offensive side of the ball.
That's their big back set. They might have just brought it up for this. Let's bludgeon the team in the at the line of scrimmage and 14-0. Another game we're keeping an eye on. Division 6 state semifinal. Newark Catholic, one of the top playoff teams in OHSAA history, taking on Cuyahoga Heights. Cuyahoga Heights 13-0. They beat Kirtland to get to this spot. Kirtland, they beat them twice, shut them out. Cuyahoga Heights with a 7-0 lead, and the Redskins driving the football, trying to get some more from the 1-yard line. The quarterback, Brett Lothar, fights his way into the end zone. The far side signaled it, and it is a 14-0 lead. Cuyahoga Heights leading Newark Catholic. So the Redskins doing a nice job against Newark Catholic, a team that has been to the state semifinals plenty, and that 14-0 lead, very, very good if you are a Cuyahoga Heights fan.
Well, but again, what's even more impressive is it's 14-0 now, and they won 17-0 last week and 34-0 the week before, and they just happened to give up one touchdown to Jeromesville Hillsdale in the first week of the playoffs.
I'm not sure what was wrong with the defense there.
I know. I mean, it was just so disappointing but in seriousness, I mean, this is incredible, really, what Cuyahoga Heights is doing, no matter what the division is. What their defense has been able to accomplish in the last 5 weeks, now going into 6 weeks, shutting out Kirtland twice, shutting out St. Thomas Aquinas, putting up a shutout against a team that it comes from such a program in Newark Catholic with a rich history as they do. I mean, this is really incredible what they're putting together here, this run that the defense has.
Right on cue. Cuyahoga Heights defense really continuing to play very well. As Cuyahoga Heights with a 14-0 lead on Newark Catholic, and that defense getting in on some of the fun as Newark Catholic going to go up top trying to answer, and it's Lucas DeRazio spinning around, grabbing it, and heading off down the sidelines. Nobody is going to catch him. A pick six for Lucas DeRazio, 20-0. Cuyahoga Heights takes the lead on Newark Catholic. Our Ryan Isley is at that game, and Ryan joins us on the phone right now. Ryan, how about those Redskins from Cuyahoga Heights? An impressive showing so far.
Yeah, guys, I'll tell you what. Cuyahoga Heights has not let this cold weather deter them tonight. They took the first drive of the game, 6.5 minutes, right down the field, scored a touchdown, and then they came out and got a 3-and-out on defense. And as you guys were just talking about, defense has been the name of the game for them lately. 2 shutouts in a row. They've only given up 7 points in the playoffs total. And Lucas DeRazio just picked it off on the first play after they went up 14-0. Takes it to the house, makes it 20-0 Cuyahoga Heights. The Cuyahoga Heights fans have been going absolutely nuts for about the last 5 minutes. Right now, Newark Catholic has the ball around midfield. We'll see what they can do, but even when they have moved the ball a little bit, Cuyahoga Heights has just clamped down when they had to, and they've made every play necessary. So tonight has been about ball control and about that great Cuyahoga Heights defense.
Hey, Ryan, you always are a little concerned when a team's making their first appearance, especially against a team like Newark Catholic that has that football tradition. It definitely seems like Coach Martin had these guys ready for the moment.
Yeah, these guys were not intimidated at all. And I'll be honest with you, it kind of reminds me last year, week 1, when I had Cleveland Heights and St. Edward, and Cleveland Heights went in as the 16th seed in Division I and gave St. Edward everything they could handle. they weren't intimidated by the name on the front of the jerseys on the other side of the field, and that's the same thing going on here with Cuyahoga Heights. They are not intimidated tonight by Newark Catholic, and they have been the aggressor from the first kick.
All right, Ryan Isley, we appreciate the update. We'll let you get back to that game. Again, Cuyahoga Heights looking very good. Still second quarter, so still plenty of time. But if you're a Cuyahoga Heights fan, if you're Coach Martin, you have to be really happy with the way your team has responded.
And you love getting the defensive touchdown. I mean, that's a backbreaker. It's one thing to have a couple scores against you. Okay, they got into the end zone a couple times, and then you turn around and a pick six. I mean, those are the sorts of plays that take a two-score game. Maybe we've still got a chance to. Now it's panic time. And if you're Cuyahoga Heights, that's so much momentum and you know they're not going to let up either.
And think about it. You're now up 20 with what we've just said about the way that defense is playing. Now they can have some fun. Yeah. Now the defensive side of the ball is really going to have some fun.
And we talked a lot in that Division I game about Olentangy Liberty trying to shorten the game and running the ball, a possession game, that sort of thing. But 6.5-minute possession for Cuyahoga Heights.
Here's a live look in. St. Xavier taking on Pickerington Central. And Quinn Early running the football and getting down a little bit closer to that goal line as St. Xavier trying to add to that 7-0 lead. Quinn Early, that's Quinn Early, a 6 foot, 190-pound senior, the featured back for the Bombers from St. Xavier. And they're trying to go up 14-0. And if you get up 14-0 St. Xavier, that defense is going to start having a little bit of fun on the other side of the football. Second and goal, Clifford keeps it, knocked down, a nice job diving at his ankles and bringing him down short of the goal line is making the tackle for Pickerington Central was Morgan Ellison. There you see number 3 kind of diving in there and then getting into the end zone. Clifford gets in that time on third and goal. 13-0. St. Xavier leading. And that's going to make it a pretty steep hill for Pickerington Central to climb. And you see just a nice job of shutting him down. And he felt the pressure and found the soft spot. The initial drive at the quarterback keeper didn't get him in, but that second wave does. And that point after now tacked on. And it is a 14-0 lead for St. Xavier. Midway through the second quarter.
I think what's interesting there is we saw the running attack of St. X, more so than a lot of the highlights we've seen the last few weeks have been passing. They get a touchdown throwing the ball. I understand they had been playing from behind, but showing that here, hey, we can just punch the ball right up the middle and put it in. 3 downs, we'll get our couple of yards that we needed and get in the end zone.
We want to talk about balance for St. Xavier. 65 rushing yards, 65 passing yards after that run into the end zone. And it's really been a frustrating go for the Tigers, just 50 total yards to 130 for St. X. So it's been all Bombers here early on.
Let's look in at the Hudson and Massillon Perry game. You see scoreless inside of 2 minutes and a half. Hudson moving the football. I'm told they intercepted, and they're deep in Perry territory as they're inside the 10, something they didn't do in that game a year ago. So the Explorers, little delay inside the 5 and moving the legs. A nice run is, I believe that was Kevin Callahan. Always got to wait. He's so small. Yeah, it is Kevin Callahan.
Gets up and flexes, too. I love it. Smallest guy on the field after that run.
He's
Fantastic.
their main running back. And you saw he can run between the tackles. Callahan listed at 5'9", 170. That's generous. He gets the pitch. He is quick. Callahan can't get into the end zone. Tried to cut it back. And he's inside the 1. And you see, if you're Hudson, you love this because you still have plenty of time to get in. Now second and goals. They got the first down on the last play. Just keep lining it up. See, they still have 2 timeouts remaining.
Yeah, not in any hurry. This is just setting up perfectly for them.
And they do finally
take a
take
timeout.
the
There might be a
timeout.
little less than 31 seconds too, because
Won't be a ton though. But
no.
look at that line up front, trying to cut back.
And look at him just accepting that contact. He's not shying away from
No.
it. He just puts the shoulders down and goes right into it. I love it.
See the guard out there blocking for Hudson.
Oh, and if I'm Hudson, this is second down coming up.
Second and
So
goal.
3 more shots from there, essentially. I understand you only have 1 timeout left, but I don't even know. I mean, I'm not even thinking about a field goal at this point. I mean,
Oh, no.
Would you,
What
if you got a 4th
what
and goal at the 1 for Hudson, do you try and punch it in here?
What I might do is I might take let's see who they have at quarterback. I might fake a handoff, roll out, and give them the option to keep it or throw it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because then that stops the clock once, and you
Correct.
can run again and use your other timeout.
And
Sure, I think
you
it's 3 shots at the end zone.
You put a lot of pressure on the defense, and it's William Wallace at quarterback, number 10. That's their running quarterback. So you've got Wallace, and you've got Kevin Callahan in there. They load up the fullback. They bring Jared Cole in as a fullback.
Perry
calls the timeout.
Perry wasn't expecting William Wallace, I think, to come out there.
And that's a kid that plays defensive back, so he's their running quarterback, probably the quick guy. And I don't want to say that Jackson Parker and Colt Pillay, the other guys, are not athletic, but William Wallace is more of a speed, quickness kind of guy. And there's a look at Keith Wakefield, the longtime head coach for Perry. Programming note, you can see the Hoban and DeSales game. That's Division III.
Who's calling that?
That will be me.
All right.
So Hoban 12-1, DeSales 13-0. And by the way, both of these bands quite large. That's the Perry band and the Hudson band equally large.
Missing our band correspondent tonight.
Exactly.
This is the first week without her.
Yeah.
She had the night off. Krista DeFini, who we speak of. Here we go on a 2nd and goal. Let's see if the quarterback remains the same. And last year in the state semifinal game, Hudson did not get inside the 30-yard line of Perry, a game they lost 10-7.
Same quarterback, but a shotgun here.
It looks like it might be a little toss, and it's not going to get in there. Worvey can't get in as William Wallace little shovel pass. And the Explorers do have another timeout.
It's like one of those kind of getting too cute moments right there.
3rd and goal.
Well, they're not using the timeout, though.
Well, they haven't yet.
Well, they're going to waste it down if they don't get something
Nice
going.
tackle by Tevion Cleveland, number 7. Got at Worvey's legs in the backfield. There was a little bit of a seam there, but Cleveland made sure that Worvey could not get into the end zone.
Dan, you said a little too cute, as opposed to just run it.
Yeah,
Just say, hey, we're going to run it, stop us.
Line up
Put it
and
right in there.
try
Well,
and
now
run
you
the
almost
ball.
have
He's
to.
been
Now you almost have to
effective.
throw the football with 12 seconds left, no timeouts.
Unless you're planning to kick, right? On
It's
4th
still
down.
third. Yeah, it's still 3rd down.
You'd like to punch it. I think you'd like to go for it on 4th down. I think anytime you're inside where the extra point is, unless you're talking about a situation late in the game to win it or go up 2 scores, something like that, I always like to go for it in that situation. So it'll be interesting to see what Hudson does here. Just score on 3rd down and you don't have to even make that decision.
Sure.
Want to remind you, if you have Time Warner Cable Sports Channel, this game is on channel 23 in Northeast Ohio. You can see it in its entirety. It will also be tape delay across the state at various times, but it is on live on channel 23 if you want to see this game. Here we
Looks
go.
like they went back to Parker.
That looks like it might be.
Maybe.
Colt Pillay. It's Colt Pillay.
Oh, yeah.
This is the guy that they like to throw the backside of the play and lofts it into the end zone, incomplete, well covered, brings up a 4th down, and now do you kick the field goal? That's a good defensive play. That was well covered. Pillay did the right thing. That was not there. You got to throw it away.
But I think you're going based on that play call.
I got away with a hold maybe too there.
That's why they passed, so that the clock would stop and they'd have another shot at it. I think they go for it.
Yeah, I think you've got to be aggressive here again. Yep.
They're going to kick it.
It's shorter than an extra point, but they're going to take it.
You put points on the board whenever you can. And it's good. So Hudson with a 3-0 lead. Keep in mind, last year in this game, it was a 10-7 final. So I completely get why you go for the 3 points. And clearly,
sure.
Your
and they
defense,
missed 3 field goals
correct.
Last year with their
he was a preseason All-State kicker,
right.
Grant Gagne. Injured, broke his leg a couple weeks ago. So I get why you put the points on the board. It's also the deepest penetration that you have had against this team in now 6 quarters in state semifinal action.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real question is, why did you line up in the shotgun and throw a shovel pass? In the situation earlier, line up and try and run the ball in. However you do that best. That was a little confusing.
As opposed to spreading everything out and then trying right.
Yeah.
The challenge is they don't have a really big back that they run. I mean, Kevin Callahan, they say he's 170. He's probably closer to 155, 160. Dawson Wervey, he's probably 170. But you don't have that 190-pound back that you can just say, okay. And you clearly were Perry stunting and doing some things up front that were causing some issues. So 3-0 sounds a lot better than nothing at halftime.
That's true. You get the lead going into the locker room.
But I think, to Dan's point, the mental image of everybody's in the box. I mean, even if you ran that passing play and everybody spread out, you started with everybody between the tackles, and that's tough. That's a tough way to score from that spot on the field.
I'll take it one step further. The mental image from Perry is they were, first and goal from the 5, the 4, and we kept them out. We kept them on the score. That's a win momentum-wise for the defense, but scoreboard still says 3-0 Hudson.
And it's looked like whenever we've seen Hudson with the ball, I mean, they're moving the ball pretty readily. And we know they had 2 turnovers in the first quarter. And then even to set up that first and goal, what was that, an 8 or 9 yard play? It wasn't as if they were just grinding it out to get that far. I mean, Hudson's moving the ball along, and when it came down to it at the goal line, Perry was able to stop him.
Well, we're approaching halftime at most of the games. We're there for the Hudson game. We're going to step aside and take a quick timeout. It's the state semifinals this weekend. We'll have more action on the Friday Night Huddle after this quick timeout.
Athletes need proper sleep for optimum performance. So do fans. To be your best, you need your rest on a properly fitted mattress from Mattress Warehouse. A good night's sleep on the right mattress prepares you for whatever the day throws at you. Visit Mattress Warehouse for a custom sleep assessment, and we'll help you find the right mattress for a great night's sleep and a productive day. Sleep like a champion, play like a champion with the perfect mattress from Mattress Warehouse.
The best thing Tri-C did for me was give me opportunities. The workforce program prepared me for the career I have now. I got a job in the aerospace industry where I work on CNC machines. I have 3 younger brothers. I want to teach my brothers, hard work actually pays off. Come to Tri-C. It's a great stepping stone to wherever you're trying to get to in life. My name is Chris Grooms, and I got my start at Tri-C.
Saturdays, after the big game, Time Warner Cable Sports Channel is Ohio's destination for all things college football. Join Les Levine and Anthony Lima as they break down all the day's action. Listen in live on Coach Urban Meyer's news conference. And take your calls on the road ahead for the Scarlet and Gray. More sports and Les Levine postgame. Saturdays after the game on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel.
I'm Stipe Miocic, world heavyweight champion for Nature Stone, and Cleveland's first hometown champ. Fighting can be brutal, so can mold, mildew, or flooding on your basement carpet or tile. Get Nature Stone and never replace your basement flooring again.
Hurry, act now. Get Nature Stone and save up to 50%. That's up to 50% off authentic Nature Stone flooring.
Nature Stone, like me, simply the best.
Act now. Call or visit naturestone.com today.
Football fans, huddle up. Friday nights are about to change forever with Friday Night Huddle. From pregame to postgame and everything in between, Friday Night Huddle is the place for Ohio football action. Combining the resources of cleveland.com, Classic Teleproductions, and Time Warner Cable Sports Channel, Friday Night Huddle gives you unprecedented coverage. You can be part of the action. Get updates as they happen. On cable, online, and on point. Friday Night Huddle. Dominion East Ohio is proud to salute young people in our area who work toward their goals both in the classroom and on the field. We're proud to serve our community and are committed to making a difference. Each year, Dominion partners with schools throughout the region and the entire country to develop new programs aimed at strengthening math and science education in our schools from kindergarten through high school. For more information about our programs, services, and community involvement, www.dom.com. Dominion, it all starts here.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tuesday nights are for Ohio college football. And now, Time Warner Cable Sports Channel is teaming up with your favorite site where Ohio State fans gather, 11 Warriors. Join Marissa Cottapelli and the pros who know the team best as they preview the week ahead. 11 Warriors Report, Tuesday nights at 7, only on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel.
And here are some halftime scores from across the state. LaSalle, 21-0, well on their way back to the Division II state championship game where they will get a chance, potentially, if they can hang on, to defend that Division II state title. That's the game that is Thursday night at 7:30 is the D2 game, different from last year. Bishop Hartley leading that one. That one's still really interesting, is Hartley a 14-7 lead over Alter, Kettering Alter from the Dayton area. And Marion Local, how about them Flyers? 15-0, they lead Patrick Henry at halftime. So Hartley trying to defend their title in Division IV. Marion Local lost to Kirtland a year ago, but trying to get back to the Division VI championship game. So you've got a team trying to get back to the Division II, a team trying to get back to the Division IV, a team trying to get back to the Division VI state titles, all leading at halftime.
You see
programs.
Yeah, and you see that a little more and more too as teams and coaches are more willing to play younger guys. You'll see quarterbacks starting as sophomores now, and so it gives teams a chance when you're kind of junior heavy. Maybe make that run to Columbus. You get a taste of it whether you win or lose, and then you got another shot to go back.
Well, we've been following the Division VI game, the other state semifinal, as the winner of this game will play the winner of that Marion Local and Patrick Henry game. And Cuyahoga Heights had an early 20-0 lead. Newark Catholic really trying to get things rolling and respond and get on the scoreboard. And Newark Catholic driving the football. And Hunter Chapman gets the handoff and gets in from 2 yards out. Nice little ball fake. He gets in, and it is now a 20-7 Cuyahoga Heights lead. That game late in the second quarter, about a minute before halftime.
First points in 3 weeks given up by Cuyahoga Heights. One of the things when we were talking about this game before, the first Cuyahoga Heights possession, 6.5 minutes leading to a touchdown. And we started to mention this, but talk about shortening the game. I mean, that's what Cuyahoga Heights does so well. They use their offense to grind everything out. And, I mean, opening possession of the game, you're not going to get the ball until there's 4 minutes and change left. And we're going to have a 7-0 lead.
I can't blame them for giving up that touchdown, though, because I'm watching that highlight, and I see the guy fall into the end zone, and I'm like, he didn't get it. What is this about? And then I see, oh, okay, it's the other guy with the ball. Got it.
Good ball fake. Dan Lobby bought it. Well, another game that we're keeping an eye on is the Division IV game between Steubenville and the Perry Pirates. Perry from out Lake County way. Steubenville, a 21-13 lead as Perry kind of climbed back in it. But Big Red's offense moving the football and driving the football again. And this time it's Jalen McGee getting the corner, and Jalen McGee getting into the end zone. That pushes that Big Red lead back to 15 at 28-13. But again, Perry keeps cutting it to one score. What Perry needs is keep fighting, and then at some point your defense has to come up with a stop, a turnover, a fill in the blank, and then your offense has to continue.
Well, and is it adjustments by Matt Rosati at halftime? Because they are staying in the game. You're trading touchdowns right now. Even if you fell behind 13-0, you need to look at it and say, all right, since then, we've held serve. So what can we do at halftime to change things up a little bit? Now, is it letting a star defensive player score multiple touchdowns? Because you mentioned Jalen McGee, and both Dan and I had him as a defensive standout. A guy with 6 sacks and things like that, and they're using his size to put it in the end zone. I mean, that's another wrinkle that Steubenville has thrown out there.
And that's a problem if Steubenville can just kind of keep coming at you with this running attack and big guys just kind of breaking tackles like we saw on that. It's going to be a lot harder to force those turnovers, to maybe figure out a way to get a defensive touchdown, something Perry has been very good at all season long. But if Steubenville can just turn and hand the ball off to big dudes all night, it's going to be tough to get those points back.
Well, and that's the dilemma. At some point in time, you do stunts, you do anything you can. The thing that the move may be, and they have the big target in the tight end. All right, we're going to cheat another guy in the box. I mean, those are the type of thing. There's no reason to leave any wrinkle, in the closet if you're Perry's defense. You bring out everything, and you might make up a couple things at halftime.
Whatever you came up with in that Thanksgiving practice that you promised the parents and the players before the playoffs started, whatever you came up with on Thursday, pull it out and see what you can do.
Let's head to the phones. Joe McGill joins us. He is covering the Hudson-Massillon-Perry game. Joe, we saw the field goal at the end of the first half. Tell me a little bit about what's gone on with the flow of this game.
Well, actually, it's been a whole lot of nothing, to be honest with you. Hudson has 88 yards of offense, and Perry has 51. So it's been a lot of punts. There've been 7 punts, a lot of back and forth, a lot of 3 and out. Hudson actually has 2 interceptions. Evan Westerbeck has 2 interceptions, which led to the 1 field goal. But neither team has been able to do much offensively.
So Hudson really hasn't had much of an issue shutting down that wing T running game of Perry then?
No, they really haven't. I got the stat sheet in front of me. Perry has 43 yards on 17 carries. So they really haven't broken anything out at all.
What about turnovers? Has Hudson turned the ball over at all?
Hudson also has had 2 interceptions. It clearly looks like part of their game plan is they want to go long with passes, and they've had guys open. One time, a ball was dropped in the end zone. Their top receiver, Greg Maley, had the defense beat, and it was right in his hands, and he just dropped it, which happens every once in a while. Another time they had a guy wide open, and he was overthrown. So I think they saw a weakness with the pass defense of Perry. They just haven't been able to take advantage of it. But Hudson has thrown 2 interceptions. They just haven't led to anything for Perry.
So by and large, the story has been defense, and it sounds like Hudson's has actually been really good.
Yes, absolutely. They've sacked the quarterback a couple times. Like I said, Perry has 51 yards of offense, 43 on the ground. So Hudson's defense has been playing very well.
Joe, since Hudson has moved the ball a little bit more, 30 yards more, I mean, when they have moved it, what has worked against the Perry defense?
Well, they've been they run a play where they send a man in motion and fake a pitch to him and then hand it off to the tailback going up the middle. And that seems to have confused Perry. and they've broken off a couple of decent, like 10 to 12 yard runs on that. But frankly, there just really hasn't been much of anything to speak of.
All right, Joe McGill, we appreciate it. We will check back in with Joe, who will be giving us updates of the Hudson and Massillon Perry game. And, you know, that pitch, fake pitch, and then you hit it, what it's designed to do is guys that are cheating offensively from the linebacker spot. It's kind of a misdirection, and that's what sounds like they have been effective. The play to the long pass play that Joe was speaking of, we actually saw in one of our live look-ins. So it's 3-0 at halftime, and you know, still certainly anybody's game to get to that Division II state championship game. And a quick reminder, the Division II state championship game is the one that will be Thursday night to get state championship weekend kicked off. All 7 of the state championship games will be on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel live. So that's 311 and 1311 on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel if you get that channel.
And the thing that Joe brought up was the deep pass. Right?
Oh, yeah.
We saw the one that was dropped, and we saw one that was, or we didn't see it, but Joe told us about one that was an overthrow. So those throws are there, and Hudson doesn't have to give up on it. They've just got to execute it. And now at 3-0 at halftime, it'll be interesting to see if we get a report that, hey, Hudson finally hit a deep pass, because I'm sure they're going to keep going after it if those guys have been open.
Well, and you wonder, what can Perry do here? You know, I mean, if Hudson knows the deep pass is the way to beat Perry, what is Perry going to do? Because, I mean, one of those deep passes, all of a sudden it's 10-0, and you've had 50 yards of offense in the first half. I mean, that's tough to come back, even if it's only a 10-point deficit.
Well, the with a wing tee, one of the things you want to see is the first half. The coaches up in the box will see, okay, are the linebackers over pursuing? Are they doing? And what they'll do is they'll alter the blocking scheme. So a tweak by a wing tee team is very different than a tweak by a team that does the conventional offense. If they feel they're over pursuing and getting crazy with their pursuit, they'll shoot another guy inside and they'll do the double handoff. And those, I mean, it's amazing to see a wing tee team practice those, because they're done at full speed, and it's got to be this guy cuts on this guy's butt and this guy hits the hole at this time. There has to be like 6 guys in orchestra that have to hit it exactly on time. And if they do that, there'll be some gaping holes. That will be what I would look at as an adjustment, or they'll get the guards out and they'll start pulling the guards more than they have. Have 3 more divisions that will be playing tomorrow. Division III, the biggest of them. And we've kind of touched on this. Hoban, the defending Division III champs, taking on DeSales. Now, DeSales is a team that's unbeaten, 13-0. That is going to be a really good football game. Trotwood Madison and Toledo Central Catholic in the other half of the bracket to play the winner of that. Those are pretty much the 4 teams that I think most people thought Division III would be there. We've touched on it a little bit. You know, the guy that really has been outstanding for Hoban, not only this year, but for 4 years, Todd Sibley. Started as a freshman and is moving his way up in the OHSAA career rushing mark. Todd Sibley, a Division I recruit, and he's a guy that really hopes to help Hoban get back to that Division III state championship game. He's the kind of running back coaches love and offensive linemen will do almost anything for. Hoban's Todd Sibley, a 5-foot, 210-pound combination of power and speed. Give him the football and let Sibley do the rest.
I got to take over the game, especially when it's cold like this. You know, defenses and typically like to tackle in the cold. So, you know, you really have to turn up in the playoff games. And I know that I carry a lot of the load on the offense. So I take a huge responsibility on coming out here and giving everything I got.
And Sibley has a lot to give. He's been the starting running back for the Knights since the second game of his freshman year, and he helped lead them to their first state title ever a year ago with a rugged, physical running style.
I have to give all the credit to our strength trainers. Going back in the summer, you know, we had some pretty extreme leg workouts, and you know, that's just determination, and that's hard work in the off season paying off. So it's great. the ability to keep going to keep doing things like that is one of the things I pride myself on.
With his combination of physical running and speed in the open field, Sibley has a unique appreciation for the 5 guys in front of him, the Hoban offensive line.
I personally believe they're the best offensive line in the state. They come out every week, and they block their tails off for me and Danny. And we're nothing without our offensive line. So we go as they go. So they're hardworking guys, and they love blocking for us, and we love being behind them. So it's just team. We're a family, and now we take care of each other.
The feeling of a bond with the line and Sibley is mutual. You can be sure the 5 guys up front want to open some holes in the upcoming game. Sibley is less than 150 yards from unofficially moving into the top 5 of career rushers in OHSAA history.
I would never pictured it, honestly. I started off with the ball and a dream, and it's taken me to the University of Pittsburgh. It's taken me to Florida, and it's taken me all over the place. So now that I'm close to being a top 5 all time, it's a true blessing.
Sibley mentioned Pitt. After initially committing to Ohio State, Todd decided it would be better suited for him to be running the football for the Pitt Panthers next year in college.
I love Pitt. I love the coaching staff. I love the team. I love the family aspect. The coaches really care about their players and their success on and off the field, and I really love that. And I feel like I can grow as a player on and off the field at the University of Pittsburgh. So I'm excited. I can't wait to get down there.
I'd love to tell you I already saw this game.
Before I decided to go back to Tri-C to become a nurse, I was a stay-at-home mom. Absolutely wanted to be a pediatric nurse. I love taking care of kids. If you're thinking about changing your career or changing your path, go to Cuyahoga Community College. I feel like I'm in a great place in my life. I have 3 great kids. I have a great job that I love. I could not have done it without Tri-C. My name's Diana Geary. I earned my nursing degree from Cuyahoga Community College.
Just as athletes need proper sleep for optimum performance, so do fans. To be your best, you need your rest on a properly fitted mattress from Mattress Warehouse. A good night's sleep on the right mattress prepares you for whatever the day throws at you. Visit Mattress Warehouse for a custom sleep assessment, and we'll help you find the right mattress for a great night's sleep and a productive day. Sleep like a champion, play like a champion with the perfect mattress from Mattress Warehouse.
Wednesday nights, more sports and Les Levine is live at 6. Then at 7, Access Crew SC. And at 7:30, High School Blitz Preview. It all starts Wednesday night at 6. Follow us on social media at TWC Sports OH. Across town and across the region, this is where fans belong. Time Warner Cable, Sports Channel.
The Emmy Award-winning High School Sports Insider features Ohio's best high school sports stories. For 17 years, the High School Sports Insider has been spotlighting role model students, outstanding athletes, and the Buckeye State's best teams. In-depth features from all sports, all school year long. For the best high school sports coverage, make sure you tune into the High School Sports Insider each and every week on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel.
As World Heavyweight Champion, Clevelander, and spokesman for Nature Stone, we'd like to present you with our own award.
Wow, it's awesome.
We had it made ourselves. It's made of...
Not the award, the floor.
Oh, it's Nature Stone.
Installed over concrete, Nature Stone flooring is tough, durable, long-lasting, and beautiful. Act now and get up to 50% off.
This is the only time you'll see me on the floor.
To schedule your free in-home consultation, go to naturestone.com today.
Football fans, huddle up. Friday nights are about to change forever with Friday Night Huddle. From pregame to postgame and everything in between, Friday Night Huddle is the place for Ohio football action. Combining the resources of cleveland.com, Classic Teleproductions, and Time Warner Cable Sports Channel, Friday Night Huddle gives you unprecedented coverage. You can be part of the action, get updates as they happen, on cable, online, and on point. Friday Night Huddle.
There is a place where dreams arise, stars are born, and greatness is made. What you live for lives here. Time Warner Cable, Sports Channel.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Gould for Friday Night Huddle and cleveland.com, checking in from inside the press box here at Arlen Field, trying to thaw out as St. Ignatius leads 14-0 at halftime on the Olentangy Liberty Patriots here in the OHSAA Division I state semifinal. Difference in this game so far has been the defensive front for St. Ignatius. They've really limited what the Patriots can do. In fact, 13 carries, 10 yards rushing for Olentangy Liberty at the half. They had one productive drive. You might have saw it on my Twitter account. The one-handed grab from Brendan White that got them down to the 10. They had a touchdown in the end zone that was negated on pass interference, pushed them back, and that's been all she wrote for Olentangy Liberty so far. The bad news for them, probably the worst news, is they lost sophomore quarterback Mitchell Okuli to a injury late on that drive. A.J. Smith came in for him. He so far is 0 for 4 passing. Okuli, 5 of 9 for 64 yards. And as I said, they haven't gotten much rushing on the ground, so that's been the difference there for the Patriots. Meanwhile, looking at St. Ignatius, Mark Babinski, 11 carries, 32 yards in that touchdown, which was set up by Patrick Ryan, hustling down to the 1 on a long run. Dean Stowers also opened up that drive with a long run. He actually, looking at the stats, he only has 2 carries for 20 yards, but the 17-yard run that he had to set up Ryan, that set up Babinski, was instrumental there. And he's been... I get a feeling that he's going to break loose in the second half, just watching the way this game has played out so far. But here we are at halftime, 14-0. St. Ignatius looking to get back to the state finals for the first time since 2011. We'll see how the second half plays out.
All right, Matt Gould, we appreciate the update. The other thing about Dean Stowers is he's filling in because Jimmy Andrews, the main running back who shared duties with Babinski, injured his hand against St. Xavier in the regular season and has been out since. And Stowers has been outstanding. He's teamed with Babinski, and he's more of a change of pace guy. I mean, Babinski has some speed, and he is shifty, and he still has some power. Stowers, flat out, he's the kind of guy, and Matt Gould alluded to this. When he touches the ball, you're kind of going, oh, he's really a half step away from breaking a big one. And you feel that every time you see him touch the ball. Just adds another element to St. Ignatius's offense.
And you like to have that second back, too, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
You like to, when you have a guy like Babinski that you know can carry the load, 12 carries in the first half, you love to have a second guy that you can bring in and spell him a little bit. And that means, look, a fresh Mark Babinski in the second half of a football game when you've got a lead, that's a scary thought behind that line.
And it sounds like hats off to Liberty for keeping it 14-0 because scoreless first quarter, 4 minutes into the second, it's 14-0, and then you get to halftime and you have the same score. But it does come down to how much longer can they hold back St. Ignatius.
Well, and you know, the sophomore quarterback being injured factors into it because you can be sure A.J. Smith didn't get a lot of reps. You know, he's the backup quarterback who's, you know, the question becomes, do they try to do something with Brendan White? But that's a tough way to go. I mean, and Matt alluded to the way the defensive front of St. Ignatius is playing. If Brendan White's back there, you're going to become more run-oriented. Do you really want to tell somebody who's already winning the battle up front, don't worry as much about the pass. We're going to line up and run. Tough way to go.
And he also mentioned the one-handed catch by Brendan White, which tells you, hey, this guy can do so many, we've talked about it, he can do so many other things for you, and he's so important at other positions. If you can maybe just trust A.J. Smith to be able to get him the football, maybe get some other guys the football. And if you can rely on Brendan White in different ways, that's an important step for them moving forward into the second half.
Let's head to the phones and check in with Tim Bielik. He has the Division IV state semifinal game, Steubenville and Perry. Tim, what's going on out there at Spartan Stadium?
Well, we just hit the half. Steubenville leads 31-13, and the big news right now, Steubenville's been just so strong on both sides of the ball up front. Their offensive line has really made way for a running game. They've outgained Perry by more than 100 yards on the ground, and they've hit just a lot of big plays. They've really just pretty much controlled the game since the start, and Perry's offense has gotten some stops, but hasn't really been able to consistently get anything going to slow down Steubenville and try and cut more into this deficit.
Tim, is it just a matter of the Steubenville offense kind of being bigger physically, doing the things they need to do up front to kind of dictate the tempo of this one?
Yeah, I mean, the start of the game, I think Steubenville ran, I believe, the first 6 plays, and the first pass they threw was a touchdown pass to Charles Reeves, the Pittsburgh commit. I think the first 6 or 7 plays were all runs, including about a 60-plus yard run by Jacob Bernard. But really, Steubenville's offensive line has been very good, and their defensive line has also caused Perry some problems, although Colton Brewster's had a pretty solid game throwing the football, about 170 yards passing. They've had to run a lot of screens and quick passes because of the way Steubenville's defense has gotten some penetration into the backfield.
Tim, were there any possessions that did not result in a score for Steubenville?
No, but Perry was actually able to get some stops. They were able to force some stops. They've made some defensive plays. They just haven't put together some consistently strong drives to slow down Steubenville's offense.
Do you sense that if they can get Brewster some time to throw, there are some plays to be made in the passing game that can, cut into that lead pretty quickly for Perry?
Yeah, they've already shown that when Brewster has time, he's been able to make some nice plays. He had a nice couple of throws to Andy Foley, including a nice leaping 22-yard touchdown to get on the board in the first quarter. He's been able to complete some throws. He's looked really good. The problem has just been he threw an interception late, and Steubenville's defense, they're fast, they're physical, and the one thing that starts me, they tackle extremely well. I maybe counted one missed tackle. They tackle extremely well, the Steubenville defense does.
All right, Tim Bielik from cleveland.com. We appreciate the update on the Steubenville and Perry Pirates Division IV state semifinal game. We'll be checking back in with Tim. He'll be sending us the Twitter video updates that we've been sharing with you as well. So, guys, I think one of the things you have to find is that there has to be an adjustment for the Pirates that gets Brewster more time to throw. I don't think you want to necessarily run shorter routes, but you better change up the protection. You might bring in or keep in a back, because we've seen this is a guy that can throw the football and can hurt defenses. You got to give him time to do what he needs to do.
Agreed. And boy, being down 3 scores when we saw that earlier, and it was 28-13, and before that it was 21 to
that field goal makes
7 or whatever. It does. It really it changes a lot of things, because it's not just one turnover and you're back in the game. I mean, there are a couple of things that are going to have to go right for Perry in the second half. Now, to this point this season, 13-0, they've made their own luck in a lot of different ways, so we'll see what happens. But it sounds like you're correct in that they've got to find a way to pass protect much better than they have been.
And the other thing is this is a team that, they've scored 40, 50 points. So seeing the 31 on the board isn't a frightening thing for the offense. But seeing a 31 on the board at halftime, the defense, you got to look at yourselves and say, guys, we got to do something better.
Yeah, and then like we talked about earlier, with that lead, it puts Steubenville in a position where they don't have to take chances. At one point coming into the playoffs, Perry had forced 42 turnovers. That's a lot of turnovers.
Yeah.
Well, if you're Steubenville and you can play it safe and you can protect the football, that takes that element completely out of the game.
Well, Massillon Perry is playing in the Division II state semifinal game against Hudson. Hudson led 3-0 at the half. Let's take a live look in. This game is being seen in the northeast part of the state on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel on Channel 23. And there's our man, Nick Myers, getting into Hudson territory. Look at the run by Nick Myers on the replay. Alex Beck chases him down from behind, but he's inside the 20. That's Nick Myers, not the featured back. Myers, who had a big game against New Albany last week, carrying the load here in the second half, early third quarter. Nice job by Alex Beck to run him down after the big game.
So maybe 35 yards or so on that carry. Last week, a 57-yard touchdown run. Boy, this puts Perry in their best spot of the night.
First drive of the third quarter. And that one, not much running room that time. It's Max Baker, the quarterback, keeping it. But again, the adjustments for a wing T are going to be up front in the way they block. They're not going to completely let's not do the wing tee anymore. Let's just throw the ball and line up with. They're gonna try to figure out how you're attacking them, what you're doing with your responsibilities, and they're going to try to move you where you want to go. That's what it does. It allows the offensive line to react, and clearly they found something, because you see it's now 2nd and 8 from inside the 15. They're about the 13-yard line of the Explorers.
And 2 minutes into the second half.
Baker keeps it, and they're just running up and running the quarterback that time, and he's still going. Baker moving his feet, and he gets into the end zone. Do they say his?
They haven't signaled whether or not.
I don't know if they said his forward progress
Hey,
had stopped.
he's
at some
got
point.
the
There it
touchdown.
is.
Yeah.
He's got the touchdown. Max Baker. So Perry takes the first drive of the third quarter and gets into the end zone. Nick Myers, a long run. Max Baker carries it into the end zone, and now they will try to add the point after to make it a 7-3 lead. And the point after is good by Mason Brown, so it is in fact 7-3.
What an
Massillon
effort.
Perry.
I mean, to just not, it looked like they were stopped and saying, no, we're going to keep, what do they tell you? Keep your legs moving, right? You just go and go and go and get that thing into the end zone. Now, at halftime, how much did we talk about, boy, one big play, if Hudson can get that big play downfield, all of a sudden it'll be a 2-score game and tough for Perry to come back. But man, the Panthers did just what they had to do. Come out and score in the first 3 minutes of the second half. A completely different game from what we saw in the first half.
Hudson has Perry right where they want him, though. All season, Hudson has done well coming from behind. So now they're where they're comfortable.
We'll see. Down 7-3 in the third quarter. Division I state semifinal game. St. Ignatius a 14-0 lead on Olentangy Liberty. Let's take a live look in. This game being seen in the a nice job of making that tackle as James Layden waiting for the running back to get there and treats the ball carrier rather rudely. Is a nice job of making the tackle by Layden.
Flag came out too.
Doesn't look like. Have they moved? Well, we haven't been able to see if they moved the ball at all, but it was the line judge that threw the flag on the far side of the field.
Derek Ritter was the ball carrier for Liberty. 1st and 15, ball back at the 27-yard line. Throwing it up into the end zone. Touchdown! Liberty on the board as Johnny Wiseman grabs it on the touchdown pass from Brendan White as White moves to quarterback and throws the touchdown pass. And hey, don't look now. Point after away from being a 7-point game.
Boy, what a job by both Liberty and then Massillon Perry in the Division II game we were just watching when it looked like in the first half, they just have nothing going. It's going to be tough for them to come right out in their first possession of the second half and score. Great job by both of them.
Point after knocked through. You see the score 14-7 now. So Brendan White moving back to quarterback with Okuli, the sophomore, injured. And he finds Wiseman for the touchdown in the third quarter. 7-point game. So, again, there's a reason Olentangy Liberty's 13-0. They're a pretty good football team.
That was a nice throw, too. It's a good backup plan to have an Ohio State recruit that you can just put at quarterback.
And he shows he's not only a running quarterback as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was a throw the ball up, get some air under it, but he recognized the man had the defense beat, got him the ball.
Yep. So sometimes it's just the simple things. He's done it before. He's played the position before. Maybe you have to simplify it a little bit for him, but you can see that he made that play there.
Again, if you're St. Ignatius, though, you don't panic at all. You're up a score, and you've got that big offensive line. You try. Plan hasn't changed at all for the Wildcats. Shorten the game, run the football.
Yeah.
And you'd still rather be St. Ignatius in their position than Liberty,
But,
obviously, at this point.
And I would say, though, if I'm Liberty, 14-7 sounds a whole lot better than 14-0 early in the third quarter. So Liberty cutting into that 14-point lead and actually doing a pretty nice job. So Both of the teams that were down have put points on the board in the third quarter. Halftime adjustments have been pretty effective so far.
Yeah, and now we get to see what kind of has Hudson adjusted back. Is there something that they kind of hadn't? Not scoring a touchdown on that last drive of the half comes back to haunt the Explorers a little bit, having to settle for 3. Perry probably went into that locker room.
They felt good.
Hey, that was a win, guys. Goal line stand. Come out and get the lead early.
And now we also want to see what does the Perry from Lake County come up with in terms of halftime adjustments. We had talked about that also. They were 3 scores down at the break.
We're going to take a live look in for Massillon, Perry, and Hudson again. This game, if you have Time Warner Cable Sports Channel, is on Channel 23 in Northeast Ohio. And the Perry Panthers have the football back. They're at their own 30-yard line. There's Baker, and the quarterback is running the football quite a bit. This time, the Explorers are getting there and getting that down. Max Orzen, one of the linebackers, throws him back. That's the thing. If you are a defensive coach for Hudson, you got to tell them, guys, this gang tackling is great. Get your arms on the legs or the hips of the guy that has the ball and bring him down, because they really, that touchdown shouldn't have happened.
Oh, he was stopped at the 4 or 5 yard line.
Yeah,
sure.
It might have even been the 8 or 10 yard line, and you see second.
It almost looked as if everybody just expected the play to be blown dead,
right?
And it wasn't. He kept moving forward.
But you got to, okay, guys, you got to keep playing. So you saw it was 2nd and 20, so they picked up 3, 2nd down and 17. And the quarterback, Baker, runs it again, this time thrown back and tackled in the backfield. A nice job of getting penetration. I believe it was Orzen again, the linebacker, getting penetration and bringing him down. And actually it's Studer made the tackle, Andrew Studer.
Either way, great job to get into the backfield and wrap them up. Now a 3rd and 18, which even with the variation in blocking schemes, 3rd and 18 is a long way to go.
They don't have many blocking schemes for running the quarterback for 18. They may have to put it up, and let's see. He fakes it and he keeps it, but well short of the first down. Looks like the Panthers want to play field position there. You run the quarterback, and
he got 13.
Yeah.
He got a pretty good chunk of it, but I think you're right. Now you punt. Hudson is pinned deep. Go ahead and try and move the ball on us.
See the blocking up front, and what they're doing is Myers looks like he's been the lead blocker on a couple of those.
Well, and you got to wonder on that one, how much of that was a product of Hudson needing to cover the outside as well and cover the receivers on the 3rd and long.
But Baker has hurt them running the football on the 2 drives that we've looked in on in this second half. Now they line up to kick it away. And retreating from the 9, Paultani, he's got some speed. Out across the 30, Colton Paultani to the 31. So good job of returning the football, and now you're not pinned deep back in your own territory. You got it more at the 30-yard line. And let's see, on the update that we had at halftime, Explorers were trying to throw the ball deep. Let's see if that continues. We've seen a couple of different quarterbacks in there as well, just during our live look-ins as well.
And inside the 10, you maybe wouldn't want to take those shots, but now that you've got that good punt return, out past the 30-yard line, you've got an opportunity to kind of go to your whole playbook.
And Perry on special teams, you can see why they play that field position game. The 2 punts that we've seen have been solid. He punted it inside of the 10.
Dawson Worvey gets the handoff. It is Colt Pillay, and he's pushed out of bounds. They say the clock will run, but a pretty good pickup. He got 3-4 yards on first down where it didn't look like there was much. As you see Dawson Worvey. So you see the time in the 3rd quarter. 2nd down and 7, picked up 3.
Both teams really patient so far in this half, too, as we've seen.
I still think a higher scoring game favors Hudson. If they can get in this mode where they're moving back and forth and the teams start to score, I think that's good for the Explorers.
Hudson tries a little bit of misdirection with Callahan and not doing it. The thing with Callahan's fast. They're just trying to get him a seam and let him rip through it and see what he can do. Picked up a couple, but it's going to be 3rd down and 5-6 yards. So
big bodies in the middle of that Perry line. Just looking at it here on the screen, I mean, there are some big dudes taking up space in there.
Big number 71 is Paul Keene, one of the D tackles. Pillay looking, deflected, incomplete. Good play defensively by the Panthers as Malachi Strickland deflected it. Intended receiver was Sam Wright.
He's got an interception already today, too. Strickland.
Nice job of breaking on the ball by Strickland.
Just read the quarterback. He was looking over there the whole time. He didn't bite on any kind of go route. And there was a comeback and made the play.
So it brings up a punting situation now for Hudson, 4th and 6. And a Whelan, high floating kick, and not much running room. Good coverage. So the Explorers get a decent job of, that was Cleveland, their big play guy. They hem him in and they do a nice job of not allowing that field position where Perry had gotten to midfield. They kind of flipped it back. So now up to the Explorers defense to try to hold and get the ball in better field
But
position.
even with that, if you're Perry, you should be happy with
Sure.
where you ended up. I mean, there was a good punt return of, 22 yards on the previous return by Hudson. But to get it back and not be backed up into your own end zone.
They forced a 3 and out.
Sure.
So the defense forced a 3 and out. That's,
And, with the offense they run, when you got into that 3rd and 18, you kind of knew you were going to have to kick the football.
Yep.
And so you knew you were going to put it in the hands of your defense. Now you get the football back. They've been taking a lot of time off that play clock in between plays, shortening that game a little bit for themselves. And we know with that offense, if they can put together a long drive, go up. If they can make this 14-3 with the way this game has been going, that's a big deficit for Hudson.
Let's take a live look in at Division I state semifinal. It's Pickerington Central taking on St. Xavier. St. Xavier had a 14-0 lead, and those guys, they're not on the script here. They went to commercial, so we're going to have to wait to get our live look in. It's like, come on. You're
Do
on.
we get to find out what the score is first? It's the suspense. Okay,
Exactly.
I'll stay with it. But it was 14-0 St. X in the first half last time we checked.
Now 17-7, third quarter. Clifford swings it out. It's going to be a double pass, and underneath, a nice job. And they get it to Andrew Whitrock. A nice job as the double pass kind of caught everybody by surprise a little bit, and Whitrock gets it ahead. And a nice job.
Well designed, brings the defender forward away from the receiver who ultimately caught the ball for St. Xavier.
Colton Paul, that's man right there, was the wide receiver who threw it.
You gave him a nice, easy throw, too. They didn't make
And now
it complicated.
they're back inside the 20, and Clifford pulls it. Sean Clifford knocked out of bounds, 1st and goal from inside the 5. Nice run by Clifford. And Dan, you had mentioned he's a big-bodied drop-back passer who can beat you with his legs, as you see right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the quickness. He's not necessarily a quarterback that's going to, run for 150, 200 yards on you, but when you give him an opportunity to step up in that pocket and he sees a lane, he's going to take it.
If you overcommit to the running back like the Tigers did there on Quinn Early, he's going to pull the ball and run it and hurt you. 1st and goal from the 4, 17-7, and Quinn Early, the workhorse, dropped it about the 1, 2nd and goal.
I don't want to get too far ahead, but now St. Ignatius beat St. Xavier earlier this year down in, was it Otterbein, right?
Nope. Nope. That one was Moeller. They played them at St. Xavier in Cincinnati.
And they.
It was what happened is St. Xavier was cheating into the box, and St. Ignatius hit 3 big pass plays.
I guess what I wanted to ask was, seeing what you've seen at least so far tonight, has St. Xavier progressed
early? Yep, they say it wasn't blown flag on the play.
Receiver jumped on.
Well, I'll be honest with you.
Do you understand what I'm asking?
They made the adjustments. They stopped putting the extra guy in the box in that game, and it was 7-7 in the second half. They were winning. I think it was either 24 or 21-7 at half. So the answer to your question is, yeah, it will be a very good Division I state championship game. That guy's the best defensive coach in the state. And all you need to know is when Chuck Kyle was the USA football coach, first thing he did is he called Steve Speck to be his defensive coordinator. And they coached the USA team nationally together. They're really good friends, and they respect each other a ton. So, yeah, they've made the adjustments. Clifford scrambling, tucks it, and brought down. A nice job of chasing him down for Pickerington Central and not letting him get in.
Now, for
now 3rd and goal.
This sequence for Pickerington Central, I mean, this is a big down. It is 3rd and goal, right? It still says 2nd, but I think it's third down coming
Kyrian
up.
Douglas, the linebacker who chases him down. Great individual effort by 14 in purple here, making sure he didn't get into the end zone.
But to keep this a 2-score game, I mean, how huge will that be if Central can keep them out of the end zone?
It'll be an interesting decision if they get close enough. You get a flag on the play.
Another flag out there. It was a false start, and now something else comes out.
Delay a game, maybe?
Oh, now they're backed up.
No wonder it's still 2nd down.
Now they're backed up at the 22-yard line. So 2nd and goal from the 22. So there must have been a holding penalty that we didn't see the flag on. So 2nd down and 22. 3 wide receivers to the top of the screen. Colton Paul is who he's looking for on the bottom. Back shoulder, and it's incomplete.
I like the idea there. Try and set yourself up for a 3rd down and goal inside the 10s, but just couldn't hit the play.
So now 3rd and goal from the 22. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's not a normal wide receiver either. Colton Paul is a defensive back. Their top 3 receivers are Farr, Whitrock, and Speck. And then Nick Moeller, the guy that we saw catch the overtime pass from Clifford that won the game against Colerain in the 2nd round of the playoffs. So now 3rd and goal from the 22. That's Colton Paul. 2-by-2 this time.
Another false start. This time it was the left tackle.
So St. Xavier making it difficult on the offense.
It's 2 false starts and what we think was a holding penalty, and just keeps backing them up.
I mean, there's a point where it's not as easy to kick a field goal here either.
Yeah.
I mean, right now you're, about a 40-yard attempt, and then add the penalty, it's going to be, what's the math? 44 if it's an incomplete pass here, or they don't gain anything. That changed a lot from
Yeah, I
2
mean,
or
at
3
this point, you
snaps.
might just be
44.
trying to get something
Clifford
set up and
keeps
easy
it,
field goal.
and that's exactly what I think they were trying to do. He gets inside the 15 down to the 17. Much
and they're
shorter.
in the middle of the field, too, because they were on the left hash before they ran that play.
Much shorter potential field goal attempt. There, zone read and Clifford, we've seen he's effective running that.
That left tackle made up for his penalty there. Really nice block to lead Clifford through.
That would be Jake Dirksing. Nice run by Clifford. So 4th and goal, and they will likely bring on the field goal kicker.
Yeah, Clifford was out, it looked like, on the sideline.
And there is our man. That's Kevin Rockwood. They do use 2 field goal kickers. Rockwood is the shorter field goal kicker. Michael Broomer is the guy. That's Jay Sherritt, head coach of the Pick Central Tigers.
Shirt and tie.
He always wears that. That's signature there. A 39-yard attempt, 29-yard attempt, and he drills it. Nice leg.
And he's the short
Rock,
kicker, right?
Exactly.
He kicks it from the shorter distance.
He might have been able to make that other one had they not gained anything.
So 20-7, St. Xavier leading with 8 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. Let's take a look back in Division II state semifinal as Hudson taking on Massillon Perry. And those Perry Panthers. Myers running the football again. Is
this the 4th quarter? Yeah.
Start of the 4th.
Sure.
So Perry eating up the clock and taking some yardage along the way as they are back in Hudson territory. 40-yard line. Myers finds the seam, and the tackling has not been good for the Explorers. Now they're trying to rip the ball out. 1st down inside the 30.
What did you say before, Dan? Now Hudson has them right where they want them, though,
Yeah,
trailing
right.
in the fourth quarter.
Not if they give up a touchdown here, though, with the way this game has been going.
Tackling has not been good, what we've seen in the second half for the Hudson Explorers. And, Nick Myers stepping up when he needs to. Have a couple of games, young man. He had the big run that got Perry in scoring territory in the third quarter. Chronicled what he did last week in the win against New Albany that Perry had. So 1st and 10 from inside the 30. Baker keeps it this time. Max Baker. Whatever adjustments they made up front, being the Perry Panthers, they're working in the second half as Perry is winning the battle at the line of scrimmage, and they're running the ball effectively here in the second half.
Yeah, see, they've got a pulling offensive line.
They got a couple of guys.
Yeah, they're just moving guys
the
around
center,
on that
the guard.
offensive line.
And they're simply just they're outnumbering Hudson at the point of attack where they want to. Hudson has to get guys from the backside that are coming in and disrupting the play. That's what the Explorers defense needs to do now. If you're going to pull, you have to have guys come from where the people are pulling and run the play down. That time, a little bit of a timeout.
Timeout for Perry. They didn't like something.
Now, they might have overloaded where they were pulling from. So a timeout is, Hudson had that 3-0 lead when they kicked the field goal from deep in Perry territory just before half. 3-0. Now, second half has been all Perry.
And every time we've looked in on this game, it seemed like Perry has had the ball. I think there was one time we saw Hudson have a short possession, but like you mentioned, all Perry.
You see, the winner of this game will be in that Thursday night state championship game, December 1st, 7:30, the Division II state championship game. You see the rest of the schedule up there. You can see all those games on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel 1311 and 311 on Time Warner Cable.
I trust Keith Wakefield, the Perry coach, quite a bit, but I wonder about taking that timeout. Even if it didn't look right, it was 2nd and 1, and you gave Hudson a chance to regroup after they'd given up a couple of pretty substantial running plays. Just for whatever it's worth, wonder a little bit.
Here's a look at what Perry has done, and this is the touchdown by Baker. And here is a live look that was a live look of
St. Ignatius. Did you catch the score?
It's still 14-7.
14-7.
Perry looks like they got into the end zone with Baker again. Max Baker.
Maybe it was a good timeout.
Well,
they came up with something.
I said I prefaced it by saying I trust Keith Wakefield.
So Perry trying to make it now an 11-point lead. And that's key because if Hudson is able to score a touchdown, they're going to have to go for 2.
Right.
So Perry,
where were they? The 20. I mean, that was 20 or more yards on that touchdown.
Point after is good. So it is a 14-3 lead, an 11-point lead for Perry. 9:28 to go, and it's Baker again. It's not much
keep
different.
Going to that side.
It's not much different. Yeah, they overloaded the side. Nobody touched them. And you see, they're just outnumbered on that side of the line. Myers with another nice block. A little bit of a hold downfield there, but not called. Doesn't matter.
That's true. Yeah, but it's just what you said, though, just changing the blocking scheme.
Right.
That's all it's been.
I mean, there isn't anything other than that a wing T team can do. You've played however long you've played as a wing T team. The only thing you do is you change what you're doing up front. Those are the adjustments and there's a list of them that, I mean, Keith Wakefield has been running this offense forever, and he knows exactly what he needs to do against certain fronts, and he clearly dialed up the different blocking scheme that was effective, and it's led to 2 touchdown runs by the quarterback.
And now if you're Hudson, we talked before about they tried that deep ball in the first half several times. Is that something they've Have they been trying? Have they been in that? I mean, when we saw the one Hudson possession that we've seen in the second half, it was a 3 and out, and they really didn't throw it downfield. It was run, run, run. So, I mean, obviously they're going to have to pass to get back into the game again, but you got to wonder if that's still on the table, if they see that that's still available based on what the Perry defense is doing right now.
Well, right now, the main thing for Hudson is that defensively, they've got to figure out how they counteract being outnumbered. You know, they're shifting and doing things at the line of scrimmage. The defense has to get that corrected because the offense needs the ball at least twice to tie the game up.
Yeah, that's the catch. It's a 2-score game now.
Right.
So you can get your points on this drive, whether it's a field goal or that touchdown and 2-point conversion. But then you've got, if Perry gets another first down, couple first downs, a third first down, that clock is running, and you're in trouble.
And they will take their time doing it, too.
Here we are, Hudson with the ball, and William Wallace gets it out near the 40-yard line, 30, 40-yard line. Didn't catch where they were, but it's a pretty decent.
It's on the 40, I think.
Decent field position. You see Colt Pillay is there, so Jackson Parker. 2nd down and 5. Ball is at the 40-yard line. Still plenty of time. And the handoff, I think that's Dawson Worvey. Be 3rd down and 2. And you want to get back to the line
there
of
is
scrimmage.
plenty of time, but there's not.
No, you can't. It's actually
Callahan.
Kevin Callahan ran the football.
Yeah, you want to pick up the pace here a little bit, I would think. You know, they've been running this no huddle most of the night, but it's not a real quick no huddle. They're taking their time.
Well, what you're trying to do is not allow the defense to adjust. That's the idea behind that version of the no huddle.
Great play defensively.
And a nice play, and making that play is Robbie Kirshner. Just thrown too high. It's got to be more in his gut. Intended receiver Sam Wright.
Well, they have to go for it here, don't they?
Oh yeah, I don't think you can punt.
That looks like they're going
but they
to.
Might because they're changing the jersey.
Jonah Wieland, who plays one of the tackles, lines up in punt formation now. 4th down and 2. I think this could be a fake as well. Don't discount that. Takes a nice Hudson roll. And it's going to be down at the 11-yard line. So Perry, 11-point lead. They have the ball at their 11-yard line. 8 minutes remaining. If you're Hudson, you need a turnover. Well, first thing you need is a 3 and out. If you get a turnover, even better.
And Dave, you mentioned it. We've seen Hudson trying to go after that football. Going after the ball, trying to strip it, because that's the only way you're getting it back. Perry's not going to go to the air. Right. You're not going to intercept it. So they'll continue to do that. And for Perry, they've got to understand that could mean broken tackles. That could mean opportunities for big runs.
Yeah, and I think that's where you've got to focus on the tackling right now. It's great to try and strip the ball, but there's enough time left to tackle.
There's another run by Myers. Myers has had a heck of a second half that we've been looking in on. This is a guy that's not usually the main ball carrier being Nick Myers. Of course, had a big game and really sparked him last week against New Albany. Picked up 7, so 2nd down and 3. Doing the same thing. He and Baker have been the two that have really hurt Hudson running the football in this second half.
Go with the hot hand, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They clearly have found something.
They were able to take 33 seconds off the clock there, too.
Baker reverses his field, still on his feet, and he's brought down right around the 40-yard line.
Yeah, what a run. I mean, what a move to just go and turn and go the opposite direction from where the play was designed to go initially. And move the chains, run more clock.
Finally, Evan Westerbeck comes up and knocks him down, but out at the 40-yard line, they've already taken minute plus off of the clock.
Another 25 off here.
And you wonder about time of possession just in the game as a whole, because as we've said, every time we come back to this game in the second half, Perry has had the ball. So Hudson's been out there for a ton of time.
Handled pretty nicely, and this time Myers not getting anything. Might have got a yard. 2nd down and 9. So that's kind of interesting.
But Perry, I mean, doing exactly what they need to do to try and just put this game away.
Yeah, they're in control. They gave him 2, so 2nd down and 8. So, I mean, Hudson, if they stop him now, is almost to the point where they're going to have to try an onside kick. You're getting into that type of time frame because they're going to keep running time off the clock unless you get a turnover.
I mean, you're looking at almost 40 seconds that time taken off the clock once the ball got spotted.
There's the
no rush to
cutback
get
by
the play
Myers
in.
again, and now Explorer's trying to rip it out. But again, it's going to be 3rd and short. 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3.
Right. A huge.
This
I mean,
is a defensive stand here.
Yeah, I don't know that you say yet this is the game, but you're getting close to that. If they get another 1st down, then the next 3rd down, you're getting close to saying this is the game here.
Now it's 3rd and 1 too. He got an extra
Right.
yard, yard further than it appeared he did, and you see that Perry's in no hurry to snap the football, so they're going to be inside of 5 minutes when they snap this football. And it's one of the things that a wing T team wants to do.
With half a yard.
Dive.
Yeah, they got it.
See where they spot it. Looks like they did.
He didn't need that much.
Yep.
Wow, hats off to Perry.
So
I would have, and
how about
LaSalle
that?
was ahead the last time we checked,
Yep.
right? 21-0 at halftime, so it's setting up for a rematch in the Division II state championship.
This is Austin Hoot.
Just great push by the line.
Yeah. Well, you know, part of the problem is the linebackers are trying to stay wide to not allow, if they do hand off, to not allow them to get wide. So,
I mean, now this is going to be around 3 minutes.
and here's
left if they
another
can.
nice run, Nick Myers, and that's Perry just moving the football and really doing a nice job, controlling the tempo and doing a nice job up 11, and Hudson in trouble. Let's head to the St. Xavier Pickerington Central game. A live look in here is St. Xavier up 6. Pickerington Central scored. Clifford throws it up, incomplete, flag on the play. Intended receiver for St. Xavier was Andrew Whitrock. And
that's tough. That's a tough call. I mean, we didn't see. I
let's
guess we
take a
were
look
screened.
at it. No, he has his hands all over me. Never does turn back. Face guarded him. I mean that.
Boy, there's a ton of time left in this game. They're only halfway through the 3rd, and it's a 6-point game.
And
that's
the other thing is, keep in mind that's not a. It doesn't come. That's from the line of scrimmage because it's in high school.
Right.
It's not
You'll almost take that penalty
Right.
instead of giving up 6.
Right. And yeah, there was contact on that before, and he clearly hit him before the ball got there. So the ball moves just inside the 10-yard line. 1st and goal. And Clifford intercepted, picked off. Big time play, and heading back the other way for Pickerington Central is Gray Bankfort. And Bankfort's going to take it in, a pick 6. 90-plus yards by Gray Bansafort. Bansafort undercut the route. And not only does he get the interception, he takes it back. Now the point after will give Pick Central the lead.
What a turnaround. I mean, first of all, so different for these two teams because Pickerington Central, look at this play. Look at that. I mean, 97 yards, can we call it that?
They read that perfectly because that wasn't the primary cover guy. He undercut that route. The intended receiver, well covered.
So Pickerington Central last week took out the defending state runner-up. Now they've come from 13 points down, possibly to take the lead here. St. Xavier, though, they're always behind. So the mentality there is
like we said with Hudson.
Okay, we're down by 1. That's fine.
Point after knocked through, so there it is, 21-20.
What a swing, though, for
Pickerington Central. Wow. Big play. by Gray Bansifort, the linebacker. And that's, you got to credit that to the defensive coaching because the receiver was well covered. Bansifort just diagnosed the play and beat the throw to the spot for the interception. Then he took it all the way back.
It really did look like on that replay. It looked like he saw something.
He
recognized
read the play.
something.
He read the
like
play.
You said, he got there, and once he got the football, broke a tackle, and he was gone.
But man, I just can't get over the turnaround. And we, I mean, really, when we talked about St. Xavier, battle-tested, played the what ranked schedule in the country?
I believe it was first or second.
The first, or one of the
Yeah.
two toughest schedules in the nation in high school football. And to have a 13-point lead, and if you're Pickerington Central, to be behind by 13 in the second half, come back, get a great defensive sequence on the previous possession. Remember when St. X was down to the 3-yard line or so, penalty, back them up, hold them to a field goal. And I mean, very impressive. But it's the middle of the third quarter.
Then
so
they
there's
put
a
points.
long way to go.
Then they put points on the board. They cut it to the one-score game, and St. Xavier's driving. Defense comes up with another big play. Here's another strange thing. The last time St. Xavier was in the state semifinals, 2011, they lost to Pickerington Central 14-7 in the state semis. The last time St. Ignatius was in a state championship game, 2011. They beat Pickerington Central to win the state championship. So the years are different, but 3 of the 4 players remain the same as far as state championship goes. It's kind of a redo of 2011. Turn back the clock game in Division I state semis.
We'll see. Lots of time left in both of those
There
football
is.
games, though.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is how about those Perry Panthers, though? They came out and, you know, they didn't put the ball in the air at all, but they got the offense corrected in a big way. As you know, they're bleeding the clock out and you know, slowly but surely earning themselves a spot back in that Division II state championship game.
And that Hudson defense has to be exhausted. Like we've talked about, every time we go to a live look-in, with the exception of the one quick series by Hudson, we've seen Perry with the football. And it's a physical game. I mean, they're not just spreading you out and throwing the ball all over the place. It is a physical, they're going to hit you at the point of attack. Yep. Every single player is getting hit. Every single play, it seems like. That's got to be an exhausted Explorers defense at this point.
And now, I mean, I would assume that they've kept the ball and it's still 14-3. I don't know where where we are in the way that goes, but it certainly looked like they were running the clock out. The Perry Panthers. Now they will probably get their rematch with LaSalle in the state championship again. Once again, they were ahead of Anthony Wayne 21-0 at halftime. I think you wonder, how do you make that turn out differently than it did last year if you're Perry? You know, what happens?
If you know, send a memo to the rest of Division II because nobody's figured it out. And here's a look at it. We're 2 minutes remaining, and Perry still has the football. It's 1st and 10 from the Hudson 23.
The Explorers have started to use their timeouts.
Yep. And Baker still running into the second. Ball comes loose, and Hudson has it. Heading back the other way.
Are they going to call him down? Or did he step out of bounds? Did the Explorers step out of bounds, or was
it looks
the
like
Panthers
Hudson's
down?
keeping the ball. The
Let's
defense
see.
is running off.
Here's Baker with it. Oh, it's stripped out. Nice job of stripping it out for the Explorers by Colin Paultani.
And they've got a chance to score. Try
Colin
an onside
Paultani.
kick.
That's Evan Westerbeck.
Oh,
Yeah,
he
there
did
it is
step
right
out
there.
there.
Yep. Good eye there by the official.
Well, but man, it's
Now
a minute 44 to go and one timeout. If anybody was going to do it, it could be this bunch from Hudson that came from behind late and beat Stowe. Their only loss during the regular season. Came from behind a couple of times in the playoffs.
This might be where you miss your kicker, though, because you are going to have to try an onside kick if you score.
Taking a shot, incomplete. Coverage was pretty good. Closest guy to the ball back there was Dominic Bowman, who had the coverage. Now it's 2nd down and 10. You can be sure they're going to they're going to be covering the deep, so you almost want them to throw to the
depth.
sidelines.
Sure.
Sidelines
15,
underneath.
20 yards, yeah. Because even if you don't get out of bounds, the clock will stop for a couple of seconds at least, as long as you get the first down.
Pelé rather, complete. Get out of bounds. There you go. Greg Maley, that's out near the 45. Clock stops. At some point in time, you're going to have to go up top, but right now, move the ball, and part of the problem is the clock is not your friend at this point.
No. And they did go up top on the first play.
Yeah. Pelé, incomplete. The intended receiver that time, Paul Tanny. Second down and 10. This is a rematch, as we mentioned, of last year's state semifinal. Perry won that one 10-7. And again, the Panthers leading 14-3.
This is the rubber match, too.
Yeah.
You said off the top, these teams have met. This is the third straight time Hudson won the first time.
Yep. They went back when they were both in Division
the first round.
Pelé steps up, taking a shot deep. And Maley had it and dropped it. Oh.
That's tough.
Oh, my.
Boy, he did have it. Did he drop?
Yes.
He dropped the one at the 1 yard line that we saw in the first half also. Boy, that's a tough one.
No need to point that out to the young man, though.
No.
Oh, gosh.
He wants that one back.
Boy, and you look at that drop. You look at the drop in the first half. You look at 1st and goal at the 3 before halftime
you can't
for Hudson.
Throw
and they get
that
3
ball
points.
any better than that.
No, I think Hudson is going to look back on this and, assuming they don't pull this out, and say, man,
Third
we had
and
our
10.
chances.
Pelé scrambling, and he's knocked down right around midfield.
That's one of the worst things that could have happened for Hudson right there.
And shaken up on the play for Perry.
The clock running. Now it's 4th down.
You see a minute remaining. 4th down and 5. State semifinals. Pelé.
You got it.
Complete.
So you had to get that first down, get that clock stopped for a moment.
Matthew Oscarson on the reception. So as soon as the ball gets spotted, the clock will start. There's the signal. The clock starts. Ball at the 45 of Perry. Grab is made and getting out of bounds.
It's going to be second down. Boy, I mean, hats off to Hudson, though. They're moving the ball. They haven't given up. I mean, 49 seconds. This is a tall order, but they're still in it. They're moving the ball.
They're fighting. Pelé, little pump fake, taking a shot again into the end zone. Incomplete.
Nice defensive play on that one.
Yeah, it was that time.
Incomplete. Third down.
No,
Third and 3.
The fact that keep going back to him, it just shows, hey, I know you put a couple on the ground, but we still trust you in this moment. We think you can make a big catch still.
Yeah. And that was a defensive effort there. That was
great. That was fantastic defense.
That's Dominic Bowman again for Perry making that play defensively. Number 10. 3rd and 3. You see time remaining. 4th quarter, state semifinals in Division II. Pelé, he is going to be sacked. Huge play defensively, and making it for the Panthers is Paul Keene.
I was just about to
use
say,
that last time out.
That's if you're going to use it, that's when you do it.
So Perry took 2 long, time-consuming drives in the second half after being down 3-0 at halftime, and did a nice job of putting points on the board. Here's a look at Olentangy Liberty and St. Ignatius. Brennan White, little hook and ladder, and they get it back to our man who scored the touchdown earlier. And running out of bounds is Johnny Wiseman. Little hook and ladder.
He wanted a late hit on that one.
So you see the time remaining here as St. Ignatius up 14, and they ran the football effectively and have shortened this as we're inside of 4 minutes. Brennan White completes it. The little toss by Ben Rinsma And Johnny Wiseman heads up the sidelines, is finally run out of bounds. But a nice pickup by the Patriots. Olentangy Liberty deep in St. Ignatius territory. Trying to make this a one-score game, Division I state semifinal. They're inside the 15. 1st and 10 from the 13. White trying to buy some time. Pressure.
He is tough to catch.
White runs out of bounds inside the 10. Turns what could have been a sack into a decent pickup.
Good news for Liberty, too, is if they score, you see they have all 3 of their timeouts left, so they don't necessarily have to do an onside kick. They could if they wanted and still use their timeouts.
Boy,
They got to get this first score first, though.
Right, but plenty of options. You know, he ran out of bounds to stop the clock. You could run here. You've got enough time for that. You can throw in the end zone. It's only 2nd down. Lots on the table there for Liberty.
And there's the linebacker, John Vallata, finally chasing him out of bounds. Touchdown, White. Finds his man in the end zone. And it is a touchdown as it's Drew Rossi, the big tight end. Point after away from it being a 7-point game as Brennan White finds Drew Rossi to cut the lead to 21-13. Here's Hudson, Colt Pillay taking a shot into the end zone. Intercepted, ball game. A nice job of grabbing that by Dominic Bowman for the Perry Panthers. 9 seconds remaining, and Perry is headed back to the Division II State Championship game, 7:30 on Thursday night. The Perry Panthers will head back to the state championship game for the 2nd year in a row.
Well, and Hudson had a 4th and 3 with 31 seconds to go. They obviously converted that because that was a 2nd down play afterwards. But again, I think the hats off first of all to the Perry Panthers. If you're Hudson, though, you're going to look back at some drop passes. You're going to look back at some turnovers in the first half. The situation where Perry put on a goal line stand at the end of the first half when you had it 1st and goal at the 3 and came away with a field goal as opposed to a touchdown. I mean, there's going to be a lot of what if left out there for
How about
Hudson.
the tackling?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Tackling
even the
was
first
not-
touchdown for Perry,
the
where
tackling was not
you
good
had
in
him,
the
you
second
had
half.
the quarterback for the Panthers stopped at the 5-yard line and couldn't come up with it. But Perry ran out the clock. Congrats, they're going back to the state champion.
There is our first celebration of the state semifinals. The Perry Panthers, with a 14-3 win, they advance to the Division II state championship football game. And somewhere, our good friend Chris Fedor, the commissioner of the Federal League, is smiling because the Perry Panthers of the Federal League are headed to the Division II state championship game.
If they win, does that put the Federal League back at 500 in the playoffs? I think it may. I think they
we'll
were
let Chris.
for.
He's looking that up right now. He's looking
right
through his
now
books.
At the Cavs
and
game, figuring all that out.
Let's check back in with St. Xavier and Pickerington Central, the Division I state semifinal game. Pickerington Central with a pick 6 took the lead late in that 3rd quarter.
A 97-yard pick 6.
Yeah. St. Xavier moving the football again. They're near midfield. And they get it to Specht. Cameron Specht, coach's son, gets the pass from Clifford on 2nd down and 6. Picks up a few. It'll be 3rd and short. So the St. Xavier Bombers, you see time remaining in the 4th quarter. There's plenty of time remaining in this one. 3rd down and 1 is what Pickerington Central is now looking at.
And you see it with this Bomber offense, how varied they are. We've seen them take shots downfield. We've seen them quick passes to get guys in space. They can attack you in a lot of different ways. And
Little
of course,
zone read,
too.
Clifford. What an athlete. And this is a guy that, by and large, is considered a pretty good drop-back passer. And we've seen him run that zone read. He's a good enough athlete that he does it, and he does it well. They pick up the 1st down, a fresh set of downs as he fakes it to Early. And that's basically a linebacker on Clifford, and they like that. A nice job to come up and make the play by the safety, Xavier Henderson. He's a good one. Xavier Henderson, number 3 for Pickerington Central. There's Early. He gets the corner. Quinn Early up the numbers. He's going to be run out of bounds, but it's 1st and goal As that time they kind of bought it, and Quinn Early gets outside and does some work for the Bombers offense.
Yeah, that's just a really nice run, but there's some laundry on the field.
Oh, that one's coming back. That might have been
I
how he
think
got
I
the
saw
corner.
a little bit of a hold there.
Oh, Steve Speck doesn't like it.
Yeah, I don't know if it happened far enough downfield for him to still have a first down. We'll see. I don't know where the spot of the hold was.
Doesn't like the call.
That's an understatement that he doesn't like the call. We see it.
Right there.
Yeah, he's got his arm wrapped there. Oh, yeah, that's I think once he looks at that, I don't think he'll be as upset.
So that huge run turns into a 6-yarder for Quinn Early. You're
First and 14 is what the Bombers are looking at now. Ball at the Pickerington Central 38. Clifford sacked. Nice job of getting to the quarterback for Pick Central. Making that tackle is Dwayne Carter, big defensive lineman.
Momentum. I mean, coming from a 13-point deficit and now playing this well defensively. I know that St. Xavier had just moved the ball a couple of times, but now you've got him back in a second and fairly long.
That's a big-looking sophomore,
well.
6'3", 270. You saw he can move some, too.
That's probably Coach's favorite part of that, sophomore. Oh, man. This guy for another 2 years after this.
Jay Sherritt is smiling. He's around for a while.
That was good
Clifford,
protection on this one.
Time to throw. Underneath, he has his man, Cameron Specht. Nice move, and Cameron Specht has a first down. You can't give Sean Clifford that much time because he will pick you apart. Ball down at the 20-yard line. So, love the St. Xavier student section, by the way. Nice job throwing on the run, and that's Henderson. They're really talented DB that Specht able to find a soft spot, picks up the first down at the 20. Bombers back in scoring territory, trying to take the lead. There's Quinn Early, and a nice job. You see he gets hit around the 15, gets a couple yards after contact.
I think Central a little lucky on that play because they had a receiver uncovered on the outside, but it ended up as a run play.
And there you see the final is St. Ignatius advances to the Division I state championship game. We're going to check in on the scoreboard, and LaSalle wins going away 35-0. So we have a rematch in Division II as it's Perry and LaSalle again. That's Quinn Early, brought down close to the first down marker. And let's see, are they waving him forward? If so, it's going to be first and goal. Good look at Quinn Early. Good sized running back, too. Early goes 6 foot 190. He is a senior for Steve Specht's St. Xavier Bombers.
He's got 67 yards on 11 carries.
Just inside the 10-yard line, so it's first and goal for St. Xavier. Clifford pulls it inside the 5. Sean Clifford gives St. Xavier the lead back, 26-21. Point after coming for St. Xavier.
Was another one of those fakes.
Yeah.
Remember when they were on the goal line on the other end of the field, Dan and I sat here and said, wait a minute, what happened to I thought it was the guy that fell short of the end zone, and
they
no,
got you
it was
this
the keeper.
time.
Great design there by St. Xavier.
So just over 8 minutes remaining. And obviously the St. Xavier student section doesn't have the memo that it's the cold and flu season.
There's a lot of moms watching this that are like, come on, guys,
That's
put
what
your
you
shirts
do when
on.
you're in high school.
Here we go. 2-point attempt to try to push the lead to 7. Clifford. And it's deflected at the line. It stays a 5-point game, 26-21.
You know what's interesting is there was so much of the misdirection on that drive that let them run up the middle, and that was such a conventional play. It was just an odd look. I mean, they were moving it on the Pickerington Central defense by faking and doing all these unique things, and that was just a straight up, we're going to drop back and pass, and it didn't work out for them.
Sean Clifford goes 6'3", 210. and he shows you he is definitely a threat to run the football. Pretty good drop back passer too. Headed to Penn State. You see his numbers: 143 yards, a touchdown, and that pick that turned into a pick six. Also has 101 yards and 2 touchdowns running. So Sean Clifford kind of taking the Bombers offense and saying, "Follow me, guys." And you know what? Really happy to see that. He didn't play in that first game against St. Ignatius. He was injured. He's been banged up all year. And you hate to see an elite guy like that who's going to a Big Ten school who isn't completely healthy his senior year, because your senior year he committed so he wouldn't have to worry about it, and he's been banged up pretty much since the first game of the year. Now we're starting to see he's healthy.
Now.
Yeah, he's getting healthy. He's getting healthy for the fun part of the season.
He keeps adding games to that season for himself. He wants to make sure it doesn't end yet.
And a decent return out near the 30-yard line for Pickerington Central. That's Morgan Ellison, one of the senior running backs who is a threat for the Tigers of Jay Sherritt. Inside of 8 minutes, and now if you're a St. Xavier fan, you want to see that defense that's been pretty good all year. Keep in mind, one of those touchdowns, they have 3 touchdowns due to Jay Sherritt's club. One of those is that pick six. So the offense has only given up 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and the Tigers have a ways to go. I mean, another 71 yards here. And obviously they do need a touchdown, although maybe not on this possession.
And there's some running room, and heading upfield, it's Darius Coker. Nice run by the quarterback, Coker. He is, Darius is a 6'4", 210 senior quarterback, and you see he's got some quicks and some moves running the football.
So we're gonna have some sort of
we saw some of his movement as a quarterback when they were behind 20-7, and there were they were first and 10 down at the 15 or something like that, and he just took it and ran and picked up 7 yards and got out of bounds.
So they have the issue straightened away. First and 10, ball sits right at the 40-yard line of Pickerington Central, trying to cut into that 5-point lead. Still plenty of time in this one. Oh, and there's some running room. And heading into the open, it's Morgan Ellison. Allison, not going to be caught. It's a touchdown, and Pickerington Central retakes the lead right back. Couple of plays, and boom, they're back in the lead.
What a game. You would presume they're going to go for 2 right here also, try and make it a 3-point game, but explosive.
Look at the hole. Whew. Runs through one-arm tackle, and then Ellison shows that he's pretty fast.
And sometimes as a running back, that's it. Your job is to break one tackle. He hit the hole, and he broke that one tackle.
Ellison trying to catch his breath. 60-yard jaunt.
I'm sure he'd take the ball again, though, if they called his number here for 2.
He's got an entire week to rest after this one. The Tigers flag getting organized.
Boy, it's taken them some extra time here to figure out what they're going to do with this conversion.
Now they're on the same page. 2-point conversion attempt. Tossing it up. Incomplete. It stays a 27-26 Pickerington Central lead. 7:39 remaining. And obviously lobbying for a pass interference call is Coker. Not going to get it, but never hurts to put the thought in the head.
Would it be out of line to predict there will be another touchdown or more in this game the way this one's going?
It's starting to turn into one of those, isn't it? How about both teams bringing pressure on the 2-point conversions too, trying to kind of speed the plays up a little, and it works.
Yeah, Pickerington Central, though, there was something was wrong when they were trying to get that play, and it looked like when they finally got up to the line of scrimmage, they had to rush. And man, look at that running.
Just a nice job. He saw the open field, and he looked like he was shot out of a cannon. Ellison found the 4th or 5th gear, whatever you want to say. He found the extra gear you want a good running back to have. Cold night at Piqua for that Division I state semifinal. Good look at the man of the moment. His long touchdown run. has put the Tigers back in front.
You know, whoever comes out of this in terms of going to face St. Ignatius, I mean, it's not, you know, I think we looked at the Final Four and you thought, man, St. Ignatius, they look like the best team in that bunch, but this is not going to be a pushover either way. I mean, St. Xavier, toughest schedule in the country, even with 5 losses. We know what they are and how they've come from behind so much in the playoffs. And then Pickerington Central.
Oh, mishandled the kickoff. Picked it up at the 12. And Specht able to get out to the 22.
But Central, you know, knocking off Wayne last week, if they win here, you know, I mean, just, I guess maybe that is a very obvious thing to say. You got to the state championship game. You're pretty darn good. But I think we're starting to see some of the athleticism that Pickerington Central has. That's put them in, you know, in the lead in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and you know what, points to Pickerington Central, because St. Xavier has moved the football effectively when we've been looking in here in the second half. You know, they had the touchdown. They were deep in Pickerington Central territory when they had the pick 6. They got the other touchdown. Clifford going up top again. Incomplete. Whitrock, the intended receiver.
One of the keys to the game there for Pickerington Central was stay patient on offense. And I think that long run is probably the type of thing they were talking about. Like, look, eventually you're going to break one. And that, you know, they evidently have stayed true to that, staying patient, sticking with their game plan, and it's got them in a pretty good spot here in the fourth quarter.
Second down and 10 now. St. Xavier with the ball at their own 23-yard line. Four wide receivers. Early the lone back. And he gets the handoff, and he gets out across the 30 to the 32. Pretty good pickup on second down and 10.
Good time for a draw play, because Pickerington Central has been bringing the heat on these last couple possessions. So run a little draw to kind of get them on their heels a little bit.
And it's that deception. I mean, it does. You can tell it throws Central off.
Jalen Mitchell on the tackle, but a pickup of 9, so it's third down and 1. Good look at Steve Specht, head coach of the St. Xavier Bombers. Third and 1. Central shows blitz, early runs, and he's got room. First down, he's out near midfield, brought down short of it at the 47, 48-yard line. Fresh set of downs near midfield for St. Xavier.
Yeah, he just kind of waited, and the blitz was coming from that side, and he let the blitz go by and ran past it.
All right, they're looking cold with the.
They are regretting a lot of
shirtless
decisions right now.
I particularly like the hat and the scarf and no shirt. That was a good look.
You lose all your heat out of the top of your head, right?
Early again gets the corner. Quinn Early doing damage running the football down to the 45 of Pickerington Central. And now if you're St. Xavier, you want to eat the clock. You know, no need to be in any hurry whatsoever. Third and 1.
And even with eating the clock, Pickerington Central's going to have some time, even if you go, let's say there's 3 more minutes it takes them to score if they go down and get a touchdown. It's 3 minutes left in the game. Plenty of time for both sides.
Picked up 7, so it's second down and 3. Ball at the 45-yard line of Pickerington Central. 3 wides to the bottom. Taking a shot, wide open, and grabbing it is Andrew Whitrock, and he's down near the 20, but he appears to be shaken up. Certainly hope he's okay. He is one of the 3 main wide receivers, and Whitrock kind of running free. Might have just got it twisted, holding his calf. So hopefully he's okay. First and 10 from the 20, so St. Xavier back at it. Want to welcome you if you have watched St. Ignatius defeat Olentangy Liberty and earn their spot in the Division I state championship game. This one's been a good one. The other Division I state semifinal game, Pickerington Central just took the lead 27-26 on a long touchdown run by Morgan Ellison. And you see light rain at Piqua, where this one's being played. And a little bit of a break in the action as Whitrock was injured. Andrew Whitrock shaken up on that play after a nice reception. Just kind of got rolled up on, hope it just twisted, and good sign that he is walking pretty much normally to the sideline. So Whitrock got them down to the 20-yard line. So what the situation is now is St. Xavier has the ball, 20-yard line of Pickerington Central. A little over 6.5 minutes, under 6 minutes now, 5:44 remaining, and down by just a point. But they have it at the 20-yard line of Pickerington Central. Clock starts running as they have spotted the ball. Quinn Early, breaking tackles, and finally wrapped up and pushed back. Picked up a couple. Looked like there was not much there, and Early made something out of it.
Yeah, really nice run.
And I think probably the big theme here is that Pickerington Central, he mentioned the long touchdown run, what was it, 60, 61 yards, whatever it was. You know, that was one of their first big offensive plays of the game. They have a defensive touchdown, a 97-yard pick six. So St. Xavier's still the team geared to score more frequently and more readily.
2nd and 6, Early again, running through arm tackles. Look at Quinn Early, down near the 10-yard line. He's got the first down. He's knocked down short of the 10, so St. Xavier will, in fact, have it 1st and 10 and be able to pick up a first down. Let's see where they spot him. Nice, strong running by Quinn Early. He's another guy that has been banged up a little bit during the season, so St. Xavier getting healthy at the right time of the year.
Early and Clifford now both over 100 yards in this game.
St. X letting that clock run, too.
No need to be in any hurry if you're a Bomber. 1st and 10 from the 12. Early, inside the 10, down near the 8. It's one of the reasons, and you see how St. Xavier has come back. We've alluded to that earlier. That overtime win against Coleraine, they were down 16 in the 4th. Overtime win against Sycamore last week, they were down 14 in the 4th. It's a sign of a team that believes they can win. They've played arguably, by some estimations, the toughest schedule in the country. Quinn Early spin and flag comes in.
This game a little bit different too because they led through a large portion of this game. Remember, it was 20-7 at one point in the second half. So
that's a big one.
Chop block. So basically, the chop block is if somebody is engaged with, if a defender is engaged, you can't hit him down low. And so he's engaged. Didn't see where they called it. I'm guessing
maybe
it's the
right
guy
in the middle. It was 75 and somebody else for St. Xavier. Yeah.
It's the look of an unhappy head coach.
He's been not as unhappy as he was on a holding call about 10 minutes ago. But
it's a spot of the infraction penalty. Let's see where they back it up to.
It says 2nd and 8.
I don't know if that's been changed. I don't think that's
no.
correct.
They got to get down to the 2-yard line.
Clifford pulls it and a nice tackle back to the 24-yard line. So it's going to be 3rd down.
Well, here's another situation where we saw St. Xavier when they were at the other end of the field that they were at the 3-yard line and backed all the way outside of the 20 due to some penalties and ultimately had to run on 3rd down to get about half the yards back, get in the middle of the field and set up a field goal attempt. And they may be in the same spot right here.
No, but you were driving, had a chance to maybe get 6 or 7, and now if you had to settle for 3, that's a completely different situation.
Both teams with all 3 of their timeouts, as you see, as we're inside of 3 minutes. Early, running through a tackle inside the 15, and that will likely bring the field goal unit onto the field.
32-yard attempt, if that's what they choose to do. I think you have to at this point.
Yeah, I think you gotta take the points, go up 4, so you make Pick Central. I'm sorry, you
Pick Central
2.
Pick Central uses the first timeout,
okay.
so you can't. Idea there is you don't let it bleed all the way.
Right. No, that makes sense. When you said timeout, I thought St.
No,
Xavier was going to
no.
take one, and that did not make sense to me. But yes, good theory. 40 and 29, and you say he is the short range field goal kicker.
Now short range.
But
Actually,
he certainly had the leg on that 29.
A better way to put it, I believe, would be Broomer is their long range field goal. I think he tries over 50, is what they do. Short being anything.
How many high school coaches would love to have the guy to bring in to try anything over 50 yards?
They have a.
Don't worry, this kicker has everything under 50 covered. Then you've got another one.
You
got to
see their punter. 50. Their punter is phenomenal. Their punter is a guy named Joshua Glazer, and he's outstanding. Phenomenal punter.
So, you know, Rockwood, you got a bunch of students, no shirts, whatever. Rockwood isn't messing around. He is layered up out there. He's keeping
he wants
warm.
them. Yeah. He wants the mittens on and the. So it is about a 32-yard field goal. Spot and set are good, and he drills it. He kicks it almost halfway to the video board. So there you go. St. Xavier takes a 29-27 lead, 2:32 remaining, and now that St. Xavier defense, which allowed last time Pickerington Central had the ball, they broke off a 60-yard touchdown run to take the lead.
They did, but it's also seemed as if they haven't given up a lot of longer drives, if that makes any sense. I mean,
there was a 97 pick six.
Defensive touchdown, correct. So, you know, this is still a challenge, obviously, for Pickerington Central to put to, and again, we'll see where they wind up with it. I mean, who knows what's going to happen here on the kickoff.
Student section's feeling pretty good.
Yeah, they looked cold when they were down.
It's amazing what a win.
Yeah.
Win is like hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Although these guys are not looking that warm.
Yeah, there's a lot of decisions being regretted right now in that student section. They didn't quite
Sounded like a great idea.
Didn't quite realize how long 3 hours actually was.
Or how cold 34 degrees can be with the wind.
Maybe they should have gone with the body paint. Maybe that keeps you a little bit warm.
All right, we saw a good return last time as well by Morgan Ellison for Pickerington Central. And from the 6, it's going to be Ellison again. And again, nice job. He gets out across the 30 to the 33-yard line. Morgan Ellison with the return.
It's a great spot for Pickerington Central. Ellison's the one that had the 60-plus yard touchdown run, and they started that last possession. Wasn't it around the 30 also? I think they got a first down and then the long run.
Curtis Rolfs made the tackle on special teams for St. Xavier. Well, Tigers fans now. See, those are the folks that have been around a while, and they've got the parkas, and it's not the student section.
And this is a good situation, obviously, for Pick Central with the football. Perfect amount of time left. You can try and score without leaving much time for St. Xavier, but you can't have plays like that.
There's Jake Burkle, who makes the tackle on the quarterback, Darius Coker, who Burkle stayed home there, wasn't buying the zone read. You got to look at Brandon Vollmer. That's the field goal kicker for Pickerington Central. But a loss of 3 brings up a 2nd down and 13. You see Pickerington Central had to use a timeout to stop the clock so St. Xavier wouldn't bleed it down when they tried the field goal to go ahead. 2nd and 13, movement, finger pointing, timeout is what
they used a ton of time.
Side judge called a timeout signaled a timeout for St. Xavier. And in fact, it is timeout for St. Xavier.
Hugely fortunate. But they used 30 seconds that they didn't need to use.
Well, what that leads me to believe is they didn't like their alignment. If you burn a timeout like that, you obviously know this alignment is not good for us. Get the timeout and don't give up.
I understand the St. Xavier timeout. I'm just saying Pickerington Central, okay, you ran a negative yardage play. You lost 3 yards, and then it took forever to get lined up again.
Here we go. Promotion time. State semifinals, Division III. Ryan Kavanaugh and I will have the call of 12-1 Hoban and unbeaten DeSales Then also you can see a replay live at Coldwater. We've talked about the Mid-American Conference, the Mighty Mac, Coldwater Division 5 from that conference.
They've won how many state championships in a row? Is it 4?
I believe it's
Or
5.
5. They're the only loss for Marion Local this year.
Right. And Marion Local and Coldwater seem to go back and forth beating each other in league play. 2:03 remaining here in the fourth quarter. Steve Speck trying to get his Bombers back to the state championship game. Bombers lost to Pickerington Central in 2011 in a 14-7 game. That's the last time that St. Xavier has been in the state championship game, back in 2011. If they can pull that off, they head to the state championship game. Little pass underneath, deflected and caught for Pickerington Central. Heads up play is grabbing it on the deflection for Pick Central is Tristan Peppers.
Right on the sideline, too. It's almost like that's how they drew it up.
I don't know about that, but
hey, just tip it back to me.
Good hands up front. Peppers a nice job of grabbing that.
Boy, the right place at the right time. Still third down, but man.
3rd and 1 as opposed to 3rd and 13.
Yes, huge catch.
How about Tristan Peppers grabbing that?
Did they take a timeout?
They might have had to. I mean, yes, they did.
And you hate to waste that timeout after
when
you
you
went
had
out
the
of
clock
bounds.
stop.
But if you don't have the right play called, you don't want to face a 4th and 1.
I guess so. Okay, so last week Brandon Bulmer kicked a field goal to beat Huber Heights Wayne for Pickerington Central as time expired, right? Do we have any idea how long that field goal was? I'm just trying to say, all right, you're on your own 42. How far do you have to? I mean, they need another 40 yards here,
Oh,
right?
they've got a ways to go.
I mean, so that's where, if Dan and I are sitting here saying, why'd you use that timeout? It's because, yeah, you've got 2 minutes, but you've got a long way to go.
I believe it was
a long way to go.
I believe it was a short. I don't know the yardage.
Right.
It was a short field goal because, as we were wrapping up, they said, Pickerington Central is in field goal range.
Okay.
So
they
it was
were
clearly
like
20,
30 yards,
yeah.
somewhere like that. So, yeah, they have, I mean, they've got a long way to go.
So here it is, 3rd down and 1. I don't think he got it. It's going to be 4th and 1. Great penetration up front by Cade Harper, the middle linebacker. 33, that guy, Cade Harper, blew that up before it could get going.
Yeah, that makes me like the timeout even less.
They both came through the A gap. Look at the number of white jerseys.
On the first play of the drive, St. Xavier did the same thing because remember, Pick Central has had success running.
Timeouts are gone. Their last
right.
one.
I mean, you still have a couple minutes left, but St. Xavier has not been allowing them to run.
Loss of 2 as it's now 4th down and 3 for Pick Central.
So this is your ball game here.
Steve Speck, I tell you, that defense.
I'm curious if they'll just bring pressure. I mean, we've seen both teams kind of go to that on the 2-point tries, and I just wonder if he'll send some guys.
Winner of this game gets St. Ignatius, 7:30. Next Friday night, the marquee spot in state championship land. You can see it here on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel as St. Ignatius defeated Olentangy Liberty in the other Division I state semifinal game. Here we go, 4th and 3. Absolutely, I get him in space, although he's not going to be able to. They set up the screen, complete, breaking a tackle. He's still on his feet, and a nice job getting the first down is Trenton Gillison, the tight end, 6'5", 235. Little tight end screen. Jay Sherritt going deep in the bag of tricks.
Well,
that's a gutsy call.
It is a gutsy call, but that's where that size and athleticism. Look at that. Breaking a tackle, breaking another tackle, almost breaking one and winding up out of bounds.
Carl Grimm right here wants this back because he didn't wrap.
He's probably thinking the same thing that maybe, hey, they're going to bring pressure, so let's throw a screen at him.
With a 6'5", 235 guy, you better wrap him up. You may lose that arm if you stick it out there too far.
Towering over everybody in that huddle, too.
Central better run a play. On the 2-point conversion, it took them a long time. I mean, they need to get out there and get up to the line of scrimmage here. Or
so the officials are collaborating.
Well, there were no flags that we saw, correct?
I didn't see one. It's a first down. How about that,
Okay.
Trenton Gillison, though? Heck of a job. Handoff. Nice job coming from behind. There's Colton Paul making the tackle from behind the play.
They don't seem like they're picking up the pace, though. St. Xavier has had the run contained on this drive.
So they're at the 34-yard line. They need to get another 10, 15 yards to get into legitimate field goal range. Minute 10 remaining. State semifinals, Division I, and sacked back at the 50-yard line.
Timeouts. Well.
Oh, my. Nick Strube and Will Childs, Strube and Childs, convert. And they sack Darius Coker all the way back at the 50-yard line. Huge defensive play. Huge defensive play for St. Xavier. Deflected. Fourth down and 22. And there's that man. Brady Stoll, another one of the linebackers, gets a hand on it, just reading. Almost intercepted it.
Yeah.
Undercut the route.
But the big plays have put Central in this position to begin with in terms of only being down 2. You know, we mentioned the 97-yard pick six, the 60-yard touchdown run.
But you know what? Right now, you got to find a way to get 23 yards.
Yep.
The student section feeling a trip to the state championship game for St. Xavier on the line here. Quarterback Darius Coker trying to come up with some magic. 4th and 22, 34 seconds left, empty backfield. Coker throws it up. Defender slips, and it's caught.
That is
Flag
incredible.
on the play. And it's our man again, Trenton Gillison.
St. Xavier
Offensive
coming up and
pass
down.
interference. I think he did push him down. I think that's the right call. We'll see on the replay here in a minute.
That's what they're.
And it is.
Oh boy, that's a tough. Well,
Nah, he pushed him down.
I understand. That's still a tough way to end your season.
That's a 235-pound guy pushing you down. Right here. He took him by the shoulder and threw him down.
I don't know. Did he throw him down or did he slip?
No,
he was falling down.
No, I'd like to see.
He grabbed him on the
I'd like to
shoulder
see
pad
that
and pushed
again.
him down. 4th down.
So now it'll be 4th and
Lost 10, so 32.
37?
I think it's
Is it
32.
10 yards?
I think it's 10. No, you're right, 37. 15. I always get the
so many
I
math
know.
teachers that would be proud of me right
Oh
now.
no. I get the
Whether it's
whether
a 10,
10
or
or 15.
right.
That was my issue.
I thought you were excited that I remembered 22 and then added 15.
They got to move the clock.
Time
started
running.
up on him.
So here it is, 4th and 37. Coker looking for a miracle. Picked off and dropped. Doesn't matter. Ball goes over on down. St. Xavier gets a rematch with St. Ignatius in the Division I state championship game. And it's important to note that man, the quarterback, who has played so well, did not play when St. Ignatius beat St. Xavier 31 to 14
Sean
during
Clifford
the
is
regular
who you're
season.
talking
Yeah,
about.
Sean Clifford,
Penn State
the
commit.
quarterback. They played Chase Wolf, who is now a Wisconsin recruit, but and played pretty well. But Sean Clifford, he's a difference maker. We've seen that.
Yeah, over 200 yards of total offense, 102 rushing, 166 passing. Yeah, you'll take that out of your quarterback. That gives you a pretty good chance to win a state title.
And the other thing about St. Xavier, nothing bothers them.
No.
They've been down 16 in the playoffs, came back to win. Tonight they blew a lead, came back, and and kicked a field goal late to win the game. I mean, they are right where you want them to be if you're a St. Xavier fan going into that championship game against St. Ignatius.
Well, as we approach the 10:30 hour, we're going to step aside and take a quick timeout, but don't go anywhere. We'll recap things here on the Friday Night Huddle. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a quick timeout.
Just as athletes need proper sleep for optimum performance, so do fans. To be your best, you need your rest on a properly fitted mattress from Mattress Warehouse. A good night's sleep on the right mattress prepares you for whatever the day throws at you. Visit Mattress Warehouse for a custom sleep assessment, and we'll help you find the right mattress for a great night's sleep and a productive day. Sleep like a champion, play like a champion with the perfect mattress from Mattress Warehouse.
The best thing Tri-C did for me was give me opportunities. The workforce program prepared me for the career I have now. I got a job in the aerospace industry where I work on CNC machines. I have 3 younger brothers. I want to teach my brothers, hard work actually pays off. Come to Tri-C. It's a great stepping stone to wherever you're trying to get to in life. My name is Chris Grooms, and I got my start at Tri-C.
Saturdays, after the big game, Time Warner Cable Sports Channel is Ohio's destination for all things college football. Join Les Levine and Anthony Lima as they break down all the day's action. Listen in live on Coach Urban Meyer's news conference and take your calls on the road ahead for the Scarlet and Gray. More sports and Les Levine postgame. Saturdays after the game on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel.
I'm Stipe Miocic, world heavyweight champion for Nature Stone, and Cleveland's first hometown champ. Fighting can be brutal, so can mold, mildew, or flooding on your basement carpet or tile. Get Nature Stone and never replace your basement flooring again.
Hurry, act now. Get Nature Stone and save up to 50%. That's up to 50% off authentic Nature Stone flooring.
Nature Stone, like me, simply the best.
Act now. Call or visit naturestone.com today.
Football fans, huddle up. Friday nights are about to change forever with Friday Night Huddle. From pregame to postgame and everything in between, Friday Night Huddle is the place for Ohio football action. Combining the resources of cleveland.com, Classic Teleproductions, and Time Warner Cable Sports Channel, Friday Night Huddle gives you unprecedented coverage. You can be part of the action. Get updates as they happen. On cable, online, and on point. Friday Night Huddle. Dominion East Ohio is proud to salute young people in our area who work toward their goals both in the classroom and on the field. We're proud to serve our community and are committed to making a difference. Each year, Dominion partners with schools throughout the region and the entire country to develop new programs aimed at strengthening math and science education in our schools from kindergarten through high school. For more information about our programs, services, and community involvement, www.dom.com. Dominion, it all starts here.
The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education program has been recognizing students and teachers who shine both in and out of the classroom since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com and click on Supporting Education. Students in kindergarten through 12th grade are eligible to be academic all-stars. K through 12 teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible to be honored as the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery's Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Tuesday nights are for Ohio college football. And now, Time Warner Cable Sports Channel is teaming up with your favorite site where Ohio State fans gather, 11 Warriors. Join Marissa Contapelli and the pros who know the team best as they preview the week ahead. 11 Warriors Report, Tuesday nights at 7, only on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel.
Welcome back inside the Friday Night Huddle. I'm Dave Bacon. We have several state championship matchups that are all set, and we'll tell you all about them in Division I. It is St. Ignatius taking on St. Xavier. It's a rematch of Week 9 when St. Xavier hosted St. Ignatius, and the Wildcats got things going, already ahead 3-0. Patrick Ryan, he finds Mike Lato 48 yards to make it a 10-0 St. Ignatius lead. And the Wildcats weren't done yet. Still in the second quarter, Babinski dives in to make it a 17-0 St. Ignatius lead. And they got things rolling as well. Still, second quarter. This one goes to Layden. Watch this run by James Layden. Spins out of a tackle, runs out of another tackle, still going. It ends up as a 62-yard pass from Patrick Ryan to James Layden. Wildcats scored 21 points in the second quarter. They led 24-7 at half, and that was the final play of the first half. Chase Wolf, who was filling in for Sean Clifford, gets in from a yard out to make it 24-7. Each team scored in the fourth quarter, and this is Patrick Ryan again. He finds Connor Kennedy. That's a 47-yard touchdown pass midway through the fourth quarter. Then 6 seconds left. The Bombers, they get on the board again as Chase Wolf will find Nick Moeller with a 26-yard touchdown pass. The final score in that one, 31-17. But again, 7-7 after the first half. It was 24-7 at halftime. St. Ignatius led. They kind of got caught putting an extra guy in the box a couple of times, did St. Xavier. They didn't do that in the second half, and it was 7-7. The other thing is Sean Clifford playing as well. Let's take a look at some of the brackets, how they, as you just saw, St. Ignatius defeated Olentangy Liberty. St. Xavier with a late field goal defeats Pickerington Central. That is your Division I matchup. In Division II, it's a rematch as Massillon Perry gets LaSalle again. LaSalle a 35-0 winner. Perry beat Hudson by a score of 14-3. That's a rematch. LaSalle had the better of that by quite a bit, so Perry looking for a little bit of revenge in Division II. In Division IV, Steubenville and Hartley, another rematch as Hartley defeats Alter. Steubenville ends the Cinderella run of Perry, the Pirates from out at Lake County. Hartley defeated Steubenville in the state championship game a season ago. It's a rematch in Division IV. And in Division VI, Cuyahoga Heights gets Marion Local as Cuyahoga Heights defeats Newark Catholic and Marion Local defeats Patrick Henry. What a couple of few weeks that it's been in the Martin family. Al Martin, head coach for Cuyahoga Heights, headed to the state championship football game for the first time. His brother, Chuck Martin, is the head coach for Miami of Ohio. They won 6 in a row after losing their first 6. They're bowl eligible for the first time in a long time. And the move between they've won 6 in a row since they installed Gus Ragland, Moeller quarterback, who won a state championship as their quarterback. That's how the Red Hawks have really gotten things rolling.
And Miami hasn't been good in a while, so for Chuck Martin to come in and turn that program around and get it headed, I mean, coming out of the season on a 6-0 run, I mean, that's very impressive for a guy he's got a good track record. He coached at Grand Valley State, a perennial Division II power in college. But you're right, now Cuyahoga Heights in the state championship game, when even a couple of weeks ago we were sitting here saying, oh, but they have to play Kirtland again. What's going to happen? And they have just, used that running game and their defense to dominate their way to the state championship game.
Want to welcome our viewers who are joining us after the Pickerington Central and St. Xavier game. A heck of a game you guys watched. We were sitting here looking in on it. You got to be impressed with what St. Xavier has done. And I know the 31-14 result they had against St. Ignatius, we just saw some highlights of that. I think it's a huge difference to have Sean Clifford at quarterback, and that's to take nothing away from the young man Chase Wolf, who now holds a Wisconsin offer in his hand. That's how good of a quarterback he is. Yeah. But you saw what Sean Clifford can do running the football, throwing the football, just in what we saw against Pickerington Central.
Yeah, it's a completely different ballgame when you have to deal with him. And now you're talking state championship. You're talking the first week in December. We saw those highlights. It looked like it was pretty nice and sunny that day. It's going to be cold in Columbus next Friday night. You're going to be under the lights at the Horseshoe. I don't think that stage will be too big for any of these kids, but it's a different situation. Of course, you're going to have a different quarterback for Xavier. You maybe don't throw that result out the window, but I wouldn't put too much weight in what you saw that day when you're trying to figure out what's going to happen next week.
And that is true, but if I'm Coach Specht, I think I'm working on tackling, and I know that's well. And I'm not trying to joke too much.
We saw it in the game.
We saw the highlight from the first time they played St. Ignatius.
You can be sure it doesn't set well with a defensive coach.
It
like
doesn't. But even in the game tonight against Pickerington Central, the 60-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter that put Central in front with the extra point, there was a missed tackle early on there. When they converted on fourth down in their final drive, they being Pickerington Central, 2 or 3 missed tackles on that one. And so I know it's easy to pick that out because of the highlight run that St. Ignatius pulled off earlier this season, but there is something to that. That Coach Specht is sitting there saying, we've got to fix that. And you talked yourself about how upset he was when that run happened. That's got to be one highlight of what they're going to concentrate on getting ready for St. Ignatius this week.
I guarantee you they're going to see, he may have that run on a continuous loop in his defensive meetings just to get the point across to his kids. This isn't how we play defense.
Well, and you can't afford to give up the big play to St. Ignatius. And it's one thing if you say Ignatius has a huge offensive line and we can go over their weights and heights and all these different things and all these numbers and talk about Babinski, but realistically, that's a factor. They're going to get their points. But on top of that, you can't give up the huge play simply because you're missing tackles.
Well, and the other thing is this is moments like this that are in front of you are the reason that kids go to St. Xavier and St. Ignatius, because they expect to be, they've already played in games that are of huge importance where everybody's watching. Doesn't get any bigger than Ohio Stadium, the Horseshoe, the Division I state championship game, Friday night at 7:30. So this is what they play for. This is what they dream of. And, for guys on these two schools, it's about to become a reality, a week from tonight.
And it's what you want in the Division I game. You want two powers just going at each other. And it's going to be one of those games where it's not going to be one of those games where it's mistake after mistake. It's going to be two solid teams going at each other. You've got two good kickers on both sides. It's going to be a really fun game. It's got the potential to be, one of the top games of the weekend.
And you have two coaches who are nationally respected, who just, I can't tell you how much they respect one another. All you need to know is Steve Specht was willing to be the defensive coordinator for Chuck Kyle when he was coaching Team USA a few years back, and Coach Kyle wanted him very badly to be his defense. That's all you need to know as far as the respect meter goes for both of these programs. And that's one of the reasons they travel the 4 hours each way every other year to play each other, because they value that rivalry that much.
And to your point, it makes them that much better.
Sure.
We've talked quite a bit about St. Xavier having the toughest schedule in the country in terms of high school teams by a number of evaluators. But you make those long trips because you're looking for that highest level of competition. You don't always find it right in your backyard.
And now, let's shift gears. We've got some rematches as well. Division II is a rematch, LaSalle and Massillon Perry. And that game got out of hand pretty early for Massillon Perry against LaSalle in the state championship game a year ago. They don't have Mr. Football this year. There was some thought that, Sims for Perry should have been, and he was Mr. Football. Some thought that Larkin for LaSalle should have been Mr. Football. He wasn't. The game got out of hand real quickly for Perry. So Perry gets a do-over, if you will. LaSalle again, state championship game. Main thing is don't let it get away early.
And the thing for LaSalle is, even though it's a different team, there are guys on that team
they were there
that have faced the wing T.
All right.
They've played against it. They've stopped it. They've had success against it. So, that's a big advantage. It helps you in your preparation. It helps you when you're watching your film. The wing T isn't going to take you by surprise at all. Obviously, it didn't take them by surprise much last year either, but it's not going to take them by surprise this year because they've played it and they've had a lot of success against it.
Let's check in on the phones. One of the games that we'll talk about, Steubenville will face Bishop Hartley in the Division IV state championship game. Our Tim Bielik covered Steubenville defeating the Perry Pirates. Tim, what was the difference in this one?
Well, the difference was Steubenville's great play up front on the offensive line. They were just creating a lot of running lanes for the backs to get through, and Perry really just never had an answer. Talking to Coach Matt Rosati after the game, he mentioned how it seemed like even though their offense was doing some good things, it just never seemed like they were able to really make anything happen defensively consistently. They were able to get some stops, get the football back, but they only ever got the deficit to about 6 or 8. They never really had a chance to tie or take the lead. And give Steubenville credit, they played a fantastic game, and they proved why they were in the Division IV title game last year and back in the semis 4 straight years.
What about the defense for Big Red, Tim? What did you notice from them, and did they make the adjustments that you thought they might at halftime to kind of slow down what Perry was able to do offensively?
Yeah, like I mentioned at halftime, one of the biggest things I saw at Steubenville's defense was how well they tackled. It really seemed like they never missed a lot of tackles. They were quick to the receivers. Their speed was great, and they just really played. They just had a lot of good players out there and really made Perry work for everything. There were plays where their defensive line was really getting a lot of pressure on Brewster. Perry did counter a lot with screens and outside passes, but just really they prevented Perry from getting a lot of consistent offensive rhythm throughout the game.
When you look at Steubenville, if you're going to beat Steubenville based on what you saw tonight, what is the main thing that a team needs to be worried about when they face Steubenville?
I think the big thing is you got to be able to contain the running game. You try and limit them to not getting a lot of big plays on the ground. Jalen McGee had a couple big runs, including a 41-yard run that put Steubenville ahead by 30+ and actually triggered the running clock for a while in this football game. If you can try and make Steubenville one-dimensional, make them throw, and Javon Davis did have a couple nice deep throws, but if you can force them to throw a lot more than they want to, you have a good chance to slow this football team down, I think.
Hey, Tim, what about the year that the Perry Pirates had? I mean, it's the first time ever in the state semifinals. So, I mean, I know it's not the way they wanted it to end, but it's a pretty good year. I mean, there's only 2 teams that are playing when they're not.
Exactly. And, talking to Coach Rosati about it, Perry had 8 seniors on this football team, just 8 seniors. Those were, of course, Andrew Foley and Josh Petroselli, 2 of their outstanding players on both sides of the football. But to go 13-0, to win your first regional championship in school history, there's plenty to be happy about, and especially coming back next year. You have Colson Brewster back, who has really announced himself, I think, as one of the top junior quarterbacks in Northeast Ohio, right up there with Jane Cunningham at University School, among several others. He looked fantastic, threw for more than 1,000 yards in this postseason. Having him back along with Jacob Allen back is their sophomore receiver, who's outstanding as well, along with Foley. You have a lot of good ingredients there to keep this going and possibly get back here next season.
Tim Bielik, we appreciate it, as always, covering Steubenville Big Red and the Perry Pirates. The story ends a week earlier than Perry would have liked it, but still a great season for the Perry Pirates. Let's head over and start thinking about Division VI. Cuyahoga Heights, Newark Catholic, as Cuyahoga Heights continues that dream run. Ryan Isley joins us. Ryan, tell us what jumped out about this one and what really stuck with Cuyahoga Heights' win over Newark Catholic.
Actually, tonight, guys, and Coach Al Martin referenced this in the postgame, it was the red zone defense for the Cuyahoga Heights Redskins. The second half, Newark Catholic was able to drive the football inside the 20, but in the third quarter, Cuyahoga Heights was able to come up with a fumble, which they recovered. They were able to come up with a turnover on downs. That kept it a 20-7 football game until late in the third when it became 20-14, and then they got back to doing what they do best, and that was run the football. They were able to control the clock in the fourth quarter. They went down, kicked a field goal to make it 23-14 and a 2-possession game, most importantly. And then they got the football back and again put the ball on the ground, ran the football, and scored a touchdown to make it 30-14 and put the game out of reach. Again, it was the red zone defense and the ball control offense in the fourth quarter.
How proud was Coach Martin of his team, given the stage they were on really for the first time in program history, and to respond like they did against one of the perennial powers in Division VI, Newark Catholic.
Well, he told his team afterwards how proud he was of them. He told them, I know we didn't play perfect tonight, but we made the plays when we had to make the plays. And he just kept telling them, we have one left. We have one more game left, one more week. One more week together, we go to Columbus, and we try to win the first state championship in school history. And they did. They struggled a little bit defensively in the second half, but when they needed plays, they came up and they were able to make tackles, force a couple of turnovers, and again, make the stops. They had 2 turnovers on downs in the second half, one inside the red zone and then one on the last possession of the game for Newark Catholic inside 2 minutes when they were trying to drive to, make it a one possession a game again. So it was all about bend but don't break for them tonight, and he was proud of the way that they came out and fought and were able to hit, even though they may not have had their best stuff tonight.
Ryan, Maria Stein Marion Local is going back to the state championship game. They were there last year, lost to Kirtland, but I'm not sure how much you've seen Division VI schools, but when you compare Cuyahoga Heights to that caliber of team, a Kirtland from the last several years, Marion Local, any of those, I mean, how much do you know that you could use to compare this Cuyahoga Heights team to that caliber of a Division VI power?
Not a lot, guys, but I think it's hard to compare anybody to those caliber of teams. I mean, those are the teams that you look for perennially every year, that before the brackets come out, before the season even starts, you know what teams are going to be in the playoffs in Division VI. You know what teams are going to make a run and which teams you can probably count on to at least be one of those teams that make it to Columbus. And 2 of the teams they played tonight one of the teams they played tonight and the team that they're going to play next week are those teams. So it's going to be tough for them to overcome. Again, it's a great football team they're going to be playing and a great program. So it's going to be a difficult task. But if anything, they proved tonight that they're up to the task to play against these powerhouses in Division VI.
Did you get a sense at all from Coach Martin? Is that a challenge they embrace? Is that something they're confident in? Because you're right. The last thing in the world you want to do is get psyched out by who you're playing if you're Cuyahoga Heights. I mean, Marion Local's a good football team. They're a great football program.
Absolutely, and it's again. He said coming out of the game, we couldn't look at the team name. We had to come out and play the team across the field. We couldn't play against the legacies or against against history. We have to play in 2016. We can't play the teams that have won state titles. They have to stay in their lane basically and play the team that's across the field. They can't let the ghosts of the past come back and haunt them, or the teams that have been great in the past come back and get into their heads. They've got to be strong mentally as well as physically for this football game coming up on Friday morning.
All right, Ryan Isley, we appreciate it. Thanks very much. And there you have it. That's kind of the same thing I've been saying the entire time, and that's the message to these kids, the young folks. It's you're not playing the guys that have won fill-in-the-blank state championships. This team hasn't won a state championship. You guys have the chance to win one. They have a chance to win one. The next 48 minutes is going to decide who's state champs.
And, Cuyahoga Heights has already kind of shoved history out the door this year. They shut out Kirtland twice. They hadn't beat Kirtland since, I believe it was 2009.
Yeah.
When they beat them in the regular season this year, and then they beat them again in the playoffs. So they know all about just the history doesn't matter. What matters is what happens next week.
And it was interesting to hear Ryan use the term stage, that they played on this big stage tonight. I mean, they went to Orville, which I don't know that I necessarily think of a huge football style. I mean, I love Orville. I do. But it's to go to Ohio Stadium and then play Marion Local. I mean, that's still a little bit different than going to a bunch of small towns all over Northeast Ohio and playing these neutral site games. I mean, it is. Cuyahoga Heights has been very impressive, but next week will just be a different type of test. No matter what they've done to prepare for it, it's just going to be different.
Let's head back to the phones. Joe McGill joins us. Joe was at the Hudson-Massillon-Perry game. Massillon-Perry, for the second year in a row, wins the state semifinal game against Hudson to advance to the state championship game. Joe, what did you notice in that second half?
Well, that was very easy. Hudson couldn't stop Perry running the ball. Perry had 51 yards of offense in the first half, and they ended up with 287 yards. So the second half was an entire different story. Just not a major adjustment, but they were running in the first half. They were usually running a formation with a receiver split out, and they got rid of that and just ran two tight wings and ran a lot of runs on the edge, a lot of sweeps and counters, and Hudson just couldn't stop them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what you figured the adjustment would be, some sort of blocking adjustment, because if you're on the wing tee, you're not going to all of a sudden spread it out and go four wides. So they basically, from what we could tell, it looked like Perry won the battle up front pretty convincingly in the second half.
Absolutely, yeah. And I asked the Hudson coach if he felt they got worn down, and he said, no, I didn't think so. We just didn't make tackles like we normally do. I mean, there was one run that really set the tone in the first possession of the third quarter. Nick Myers, who ended up being the leading rusher for Perry, put together a 40-yard run where it looked like he was stopped 2 yards down the field. Then he looked like he was stopped 5 yards down the field. And looked like he was stopped 7 yards down the field, but they couldn't get him off his feet. And then all of a sudden he broke away and had to be caught from behind. And that kind of just set the tone for the rest of the second half.
Did you ever sense that that Perry? It also looked like Perry's defense made some adjustments as well. Did you kind of get the sense they weren't allowing people behind them nearly as much? Although
that is true. I have to believe that they did talk about that, because Hudson got behind them several times in the first half. Now, I hate to bring up things like this, but Hudson flat out had 2 touchdown passes that were just dropped.
Oh yeah, we saw him. We saw him in our live look-in. So yeah, I tend to agree with you.
Okay, you don't like to say things like that, but it's just the truth. Now, one of them came with less than a minute to go, and they were down 14-3. So who knows how much of a difference it would have made? But they could have attempted an onside kick and maybe pulled out another miracle. But it just wasn't to be. It just went right through his hands.
Joe McGill, we appreciate the constant updates from the Hudson and Massillon Perry game. Joe McGill fills us in. So, guys, we've got a couple of so far the 4 games that we have for state championships are just really interesting. You've got, the Cincinnati and the Catholic Giants in St. Ignatius and in St. Xavier. You've got a rematch in Division II in Massillon Perry and LaSalle. You've got a rematch in Division IV in Steubenville and Bishop Hartley. And in Division VI, you've got Marion Local, who you can be sure the kids that were on the team last year are upset. They had a lead at halftime and lost to Kirtland, and they're playing Cuyahoga Heights in their first ever state championship football game. Storylines are all over the place.
They are. I think the one thing that jumps out at me is Massillon Perry and the wing tee going against LaSalle, and it didn't come out very well for them last year. A lopsided game, but how, what can they do differently? I mean, that's not going to be a 3-0 game at halftime, probably. No. I mean, if it is, great for Massillon Perry, but that matchup doesn't lend itself to that. So I think the question is, what can the Panthers do differently? And you talked about the halftime adjustment of blocking schemes, and that worked against the Hudson Explorers. I think that's the one thing that I look at this week and say something has to happen there for Perry for them to be competitive in that game, and I'm not quite sure what that is.
The first thing is the way you have to beat, the way Perry has to beat LaSalle is they have to have long ball control drives. They can't have threes. They had 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and LaSalle was 40 yards, 50 yards, 60 yards.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is that's Perry's style. I mean, it's a lot like Cuyahoga Heights, except I think you probably have a little more faith in Cuyahoga Heights to be able to, mix in some passing, their defense coming through, that sort of things, whereas Perry, it just seems they've got to come up with something else this week.
Dan, what are you looking at? We got 1 minute left in the show.
You've got a little bit of everything. I mean, you went through it. You got the 2 powers. You've got the rematches. You've got Cuyahoga Heights. I want to see if Cuyahoga Heights can finish this, right? Because, okay, we saw the Perry story come to an end. That was a great story. What a season for them. We saw the Hudson story come to an end tonight. You know, another great unexpected season. I mean, we had them out back in like week 7, I think, and here they were losing in the state semifinal. So I want to see if Cuyahoga Heights can kind of finish this thing and win their first state championship. That's always a great story when a team can do that.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. Well, it all gets started Thursday night at 7 with the Division II state championship game, which is Massillon Perry and LaSalle, a rematch of a year ago, 7:30 on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel. I want to remind you that you can see all 7 state championship football games on Time Warner Cable Sports Channel, your home for high school sports. For Dan Lobby, Dave Scozen, I'm Dave Bacon. That'll do it for us on the Friday Night Huddle. State Championship Weekend next.